Chapter 1166. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Yi Qinghan was pulled up to the fourth floor by the charming brothel keeper. Yi Qinghan didn't refute and only followed silently. He wanted to know more. Maybe this kind of woman knew more than the county governor. Entering the fourth floor, there was a large private room. The room was surrounded by high and soft animal skin cushions. In the middle, there was a round table surrounded by a few chairs. The faint red light inside made people's hearts flutter and their hormones dance. A row of rubies and sapphires hung on the wall. The decoration was very luxurious. The scenery in the window was a scene of spring water and green mountains. Half of the mountain range could be seen at a glance. The stars in the sky were like a waterfall, as if the stars were within reach. Strands of starlight poured down, filling the private room. This was indeed a perfect place. The brothel keeper pushed open the door and entered. Under the moonlight, her slender legs were enchanting. Yi Qinghan glanced at her from the corner of his eyes. The corner of his mouth couldn't help but curl up as he followed her in. Yi Qinghan smiled. He walked to the window and looked at the brothel keeper, Sister Yao, and gently said, "The scenery and the beauty complement each other. The scenery and the beauty are truly breathtaking. Isn't that right, Sister Yao?" Sister Yao raised her head and looked at Yi Qinghan, charmingly saying, "Oh, it seems like you came prepared. This big sister has never seen you before, but you know my name. You even paid so many spirit stones in one go. Speak, tell me your true motive." Yi Qinghan chuckled. There was no need to beat around the bush with a woman like her. He reached out his strong arm and wrapped it around her waist, pulling her into his embrace. He looked down at her rosy lips with a devilish aura. Her personality and figure made him restless. If I didn't have a motive, why would I come here in advance? Since I'm already here, if I don't inquire about the most beautiful, most feminine, and most attractive woman in the fragrance pavilion, what else can I do? Yi Qinghan smiled. Tsk, your little mouth is really sweet. I can't be considered the most beautiful woman. There are quite a few women in Fragrance Pavilion who are prettier than me. However, I dare to admit that I'm the most attractive and feminine. I don't believe that you won't be moved." Sister Yao's smile was enchanting, but she was truly happy in her heart. Her soft breasts were trembling, causing Yi Qinghan to feel restless. Yi Qinghan looked down at the mature woman and said in a low voice, "I am Yi Qinghan, who wiped out the Black Tiger Stockade a few days ago. I built the Frost Demon Stockade. As a newcomer, I will offend people. If there is no one to protect me, it will be hard for me to develop. Therefore, I would like to use my connections to invite the 2 domain chiefs of the Black Sky County to a banquet. Sister Yao should know the 2 domain chiefs better. Can you give me some advice?" "Why should I help you?" Sister Yao asked. "Then what do you want?" Yi Qinghan's devilish smile made the woman unable to refuse. "I want you to give it to me? You little vixen." Sister Yao wriggled her body seductively. Her jade-like hands caressed Yi Qinghan's chest, as if she was sensing his heartbeat. "Sister Yao isn't someone who likes handsome men. According to my investigation, although you look very flirtatious on the surface, you actually don't allow men to take advantage of you. Being able to pull you into my embrace is already taking advantage of me. Why? Are you attracted by my beauty and moved?" Yi Qinghan teased. Yo, I'm just flattering you a little and you're already so cocky. I've been in the pugilistic world for so long, what kind of men have I not seen? I'm just curious. Judging from your temperament, you don't seem to be the type to take advantage of others. I just want to know your true motive. I don't think you're really trying to curry favor with the 2 domain chief." Sister Yao looked straight at Yi Qinghan, as if she had seen through him. Yi Qinghan's body stiffened for a moment. He looked calmly at Sister Yao in his embrace and gradually released his grip. "I guessed right. I've seen countless men. What kind of men have I not seen before? Do you think you can fool my eyes with your little tricks?" Sister Yao smiled. Yi Qinghan suddenly moved, pushing Sister Yao down onto the beast's skin cushion. As if he had been electrocuted, the soft cushion caved in. Sister Yao, you've seen countless men, but don't you know that you shouldn't touch the secrets in the depths of men's hearts? Yi Qinghan's hoarse voice was filled with magnetism. I don't like to pry into other people's secrets, but from the first time I saw you, I wanted to see through you. Why? You don't want me to see the secrets in your heart? Sister Yao's face was flushed red, as if she was really rarely touched by others. She was simply too seductive. No man could resist such a woman. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He raised his right hand, lifted her chin, and said in a hoarse voice, "Since you want to know, I'll tell you. My real target is the great wasteland world. Sister Yao, can you provide me with some information?" Sister Yao's eyes widened as she looked at Yi Qinghan in shock. She didn't expect his target to be the great wasteland world. The Grand Wastelands world is a place where the paramount gods go to hunt for treasures, Sister Yao said. You're just a giant god rookie, and you're going to die if you try to go there. Besides, the passageway isn't open to just anyone. You have to have the permission of the Realm Lord or a peak paramount god to enter. Yi Qinghan smiled. As expected, information came quickly in this place. Is there any other information? Yi Qinghan immediately asked. If you want information, you'll have to give me something in exchange. I'm not free, Sister Yao said with a charming smile. Or do you want me? Of course. Look at how great you are. If you're satisfied, I can help you get a letter. A flirtatious tone came from the room. In the faint, red atmosphere, hormones were bursting forth. Yi Qinghan's breathing stagnated. He slowly lowered his body and came into close contact with Sister Yao. Gently, he reminded her, "There is no future between us. I won't take responsibility." "I don't need you to take responsibility. If you serve me well enough, I'll be your lover." "Why?" "Because I'm moved. After so many years, I also need to balance my yin and yang. However, I want the person I love to fight with me. You're very suitable." Simple words, but they struck a chord in her heart. Yi Qinghan slowly lifted her veil, stirring her heart. Sister Yao did her best to cooperate. She lifted her body and removed her clothes, revealing her perfect body. Yi Qinghan's eyes lit up. Humans weren't saints. How could they be without desires? They were all mortals. No matter how strong a person was, no matter how strong a god was, they were still mortals. All titles were given by humans. I'll satisfy your request. I hope you can satisfy my eyes as well. Yi Qinghan was incomparably charming, exuding a wild and manly aura. Yi Qinghan leaned forward and did his best to satisfy the beauty in front of him. Edited article. Chapter 1167. In the primal chaos realm, the divine bird, the little money grubber, and the little golden crow leisurely made their way to the insane sect. Only then did they realize that Yi Qinghan and Mo Li were ambushed, and Mo Li did not return to the demonic god mountain. Both sides almost fought. The divine bird used a lot of persuasion to convince the demonic god mountain. In addition, Qin Wentian did not allow them to fight. Both sides managed to stabilize the situation for the time being. A large number of experts rushed to the Six Paths domain, destroying the entire place. Corpses of the demonic god guards and baleful blood guards were strewn all over the place. The second sorcerer god did not even have time to clean them up. Everyone in the Six Paths domain was killed and buried in the lake in the city. We were ambushed here. If I didn't find the array core, this divine bird would be finished. The divine bird sighed. Emperor Yi and Qin Wentian rushed to the blood lake in the city. Looking at the corpses, the smell of flesh and blood had changed and even started to rot. The stench was overwhelming and they were furious. Who could be so cruel? They actually massacred an entire city. Emperor Yi clenched his fists and said angrily. The demonic god mountain's Yushin personally arrived. Looking at the blood lake, She waved her divine power and pushed aside the flesh and blood. Looking at the array below, she said hoarsely, "The Blood Fiend Sky Sealing Array. This is the most powerful array in the primal chaos era. Once sealed, no one can break it from the inside or the outside unless they find the array core. The Blood Fiend Sky Sealing Array is known as the most vicious array. It uses flesh and blood to accumulate endless resentment and fear. It gathers baleful aura, sealing the sky and suppressing the earth. This array is a secret array that both the demonic god mountain and the sorcerer tribe knew." Qin Wentian looked at Yushin and Emperor Yi. He noticed that Emperor Yi was a little vigilant and was glaring at the two. He quickly explained, "Auntie, believe me, it's definitely not the demonic god mountain's doing." "So it's the sorcerer tribe's doing? Then the sorcerer tribe can do whatever they want?" "How did they know that Master and Mo Li passed by the Six Paths domain at that time?" Emperor Yi asked coldly. Yushin frowned and pondered for a moment. "This matter is very simple. When Sect Master Yi went to invite the demon god, he was discovered by the sorcerer tribe. They set up a large array here in advance and waited for him. Auntie, the demon god mountain won't harm Emoli as well. The divine bird saw the two of them fighting together, so there's a high chance that it was done by the shaman tribe. However, the most important thing for us now is to find the location of Uncle and Emoli. Since they managed to escape from the Blood Fiend Sky Sealing Great Formation, they naturally have the ability to escape from their pursuit. However, they haven't returned yet, which means that there's a problem." Emperor Yi nodded and returned to the city gate to meet up with Jiang Jingtian and the others. Seeing them examining the corpses of the Blood Evil Guards, he was even more certain that they were not from the Demon God Mountain because many of the Blood Evil Guards had been killed by Emoli. There are no clues. They are all strangers who have never appeared before. However, there is a group of people who are the same as the ones who attacked the Endless Star System, Jiang Jingtian said in a low voice. "I've tracked down the direction Brother Yi and Emoli escaped in. Let's chase after them now." Zixian used a forbidden technique to reconstruct the origin. Along the way, Yi Qinghan and Emoli had been fighting and fleeing. They had not concealed themselves at all, so it was easy to track them. However, the origin of the Blood Evil Guards could not be tracked down. Shua. At this moment, a figure appeared on the city wall. He wore a mask and his clothes fluttered in the wind. His killing intent soared to the sky. The divine bird immediately shouted, "It's this bastard who brought people to stop us." Ing, boom. The 12 experts of the Demon God Mountain and the Shaman tribe drew their swords at the same time. The 12 of them were all top-notch Saint Sons and were comparable to Saint Lords. They glared at the second Shaman God. The second Shaman God's eyes emitted a cold light as he stared at the divine bird. He ignored the others and coldly asked the divine bird, "Devouring Spirit Parrot, were you the one who broke the Blood Fiend Sky Sealing Great Formation?" "Of course. Don't you know who this divine bird is? I can break this broken thing with a wave of my hand. It's not like it's some supreme divine formation." The divine bird held its head high and said disdainfully. The second shaman god's lips curled up. If it wasn't for the mask covering his cold smile, it would definitely scare people to death. "Then what about the person who chased after you? Who killed him?" The second shaman god continued to ask. "You're talking about that rookie?" My bird body shook and my divinity erupted. "He was killed by me on the spot. Now, his corpse is at the bottom of the river, being eaten by the fishes." The divine bird raised its head in disdain, as if it had just killed a small fry. The second shaman god laughed evilly. Looking at the divine bird's smug look, his evil aura burst forth as he mocked. "I didn't expect the devouring spirit parrot to have such ability." The divine bird was unhappy when it heard that. It roared, "I'm not a good bird. If God blocks me, I'll kill God. If devil blocks me, I'll kill devil. Anyone who blocks my path, I'll kill without mercy." Everyone looked at each other. They did not expect the divine bird to be so high-profile. Do you know who he is? With just you? Even 100 of them together would not be a match for him. Tell me, who is the murderer, and I'll leave your corpse intact. The second shaman god was really angry. He did not want to talk nonsense with it, so he angrily rebuked. I don't care who he is. If he's an enemy, I'll kill him as well. You won't be able to leave today. Tell me honestly, where did you chase my master and Emily? The divine bird did not give him any face and coldly asked. I killed them. Consider it a little interest. The second shaman god ruthlessly retorted. Bullsh *t. If my master was dead, the little golden crow would have been dead already. If my master wasn't dead, Emily wouldn't have died either. You must have lost them, right? I know this guy's speed very well. Even if you had 2 more legs, you wouldn't be able to catch up. The divine bird scolded. You're courting death. The second shaman god was furious. He pulled out his sword and was about to kill the divine bird. Brothers, kill this bitch. Whoosh, the divine bird took a step back and waved its wings forward as it shouted to the crowd. Ting 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 ting. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, buzz. At that moment the experts attacked the second shaman god at almost the same time. Emperor Yi played the zither, buffing everyone. Yushin rushed forward aggressively. Jiang Jingtian and Yi Kuan were no exception. At that moment they all wanted to kill the second shaman god and take off his mask to see if he was the second shaman god. Boom boom boom. More than 10 attacks attacked the city walls at the same time. The walls of the 6 paths divine city collapsed. The second shaman god's divine sword shattered everyone's attacks. His body flew backward, but he used the momentum to escape. His figure flashed and disappeared at an extremely fast speed. It was impossible to catch up. Yushin did not give chase. Instead, she stood on top of the collapsed city wall and said in a low voice, "This person shouldn't be the second shaman god. His divine weapon is the shaman's spear, an ancestral weapon. It's an over-god weapon. If he really did attack Sect Master Yi and Young Master, they wouldn't have a chance to escape if he used the over-god weapon." Emperor Yi frowned and thought. Other than the demon god mountain and the shaman tribe, there didn't seem to be anyone who had a deep grudge against them. Why would they want the insane sect and the demon god mountain to kill each other? However, Zixian reacted quickly. He turned to the divine bird and asked, "That person just said that the person who was chasing you is dead. He should be a big shot. Who killed him? What does he look like?" The divine bird was stunned. That guy was dragged into the water by the water monkey. Who would dare fight with it for the corpse? Yi Qinghan almost didn't come up from the bottom of the water, so it didn't dare to go down. Therefore, Wu Ye's identity was still not exposed. The second shaman god also considered this point. He didn't want to search for Wu Ye's corpse and left immediately. Chapter 1168. In the fragrance pavilion, Yi Qinghan stood by the window. Behind him, Sister Yao was lying on the beast skin cushion with a satisfied expression. Her body and mind were both satisfied as she stared at Yi Qinghan's back in a daze. "You woke up so early. What do you want to ask?" "I'll tell you everything I know." Sister Yao twisted her body and slowly got up. Her entire body was sore and powerless. It was clear that the intense battle last night had left her somewhat unable to resist. "I wish to enter the Great Desolation Domain." "Sister Yao, why don't you give me some suggestions?" Yi Qinghan went straight to the point, too lazy to beat around the bush. He was confident that he had the charm to conquer this wild woman, and she wouldn't say anything. "Entering the Great Desolation Domain isn't a difficult matter for me. Do you know who I am?" Sister Yao smiled. She walked behind Yi Qinghan, wrapped her arms around his waist, and asked charmingly. She was only wearing a thin, transparent veil. Yi Qinghan didn't push Sister Yao away. Instead, he raised his eyebrows and asked, You're a subordinate of the city lord? That's right. He has women in every city to help him accumulate wealth, and we are just his playthings. If we are lucky enough to give birth to a child, the mother can rely on the child to enjoy glory, splendor, wealth, and rank. It's a pity that I didn't live up to expectations and didn't have any goods in my belly. Even now, I am still here as the pavilion master of the fragrance pavilion. I am his woman. Otherwise, with my charm and beauty, how could no one be tempted by me and have ideas about me? Who would dare to touch me? Sister Yao smiled seductively. Yi Qinghan's body stiffened, and he said hoarsely, "If that's the case, I've cuckolded a certain supreme god? Why, are you scared?" Sister Yao mocked. Yi Qinghan slowly turned around. Looking at this impeccable woman, his thoughts suddenly surged, and he said evilly, "I'm not a good person. Cuckolding a supreme god, I suddenly feel very excited. Even more excited than last night. It's really exciting." Pung. Different sounds filled the private room. The soundproofing effect was extremely good. No matter how Sister Yao played, the outside world would not be able to hear anything. Yi Qinghan was like a barbarian. He flipped Sister Yao around and pressed her against the window. The second head continued to attack, and soon, Sister Yao's body began to convulse. Yi Qinghan's wild nature and frenzied explosiveness were too much for her to handle. She had to switch locations, be it the table, the window, the cushion, or even the floor. After fighting for nearly 2 hours, Sister Yao was on the verge of fainting. She didn't even dare to make a sound, as though she was venting her frustrations as well. Eventually, she fell limply onto the soft flesh. "Are you satisfied this time? If you're satisfied, then hurry up and tell me how to enter the Great Wasteland domain." Yi Qinghan leaned over and whispered into Sister Yao's ear. "So comfortable. You're the best man I've ever met," Sis Yao exclaimed excitedly as she collapsed onto the floor in satisfaction. "I will be in the future as well." Yi Qinghan chuckled mischievously. "All right, you're indeed not a good person. Everyone else would avoid me, but you pushed me down once more just because I'm the concubine of a supreme god. You're 10 times crazier than yesterday. If he were to find out about this, you'll die a horrible death." Sister Yao chuckled. "If I die under a beauty's skirt, I'll still be a romantic ghost. Besides, I already did it last night. If he were to find out, I'd have to at least earn a little more before I die, right?" Yi Qinghan muttered. "All right. You're smart." Sis Yao tightly hugged Yi Qinghan's back as she gently said, "If you want to enter the Great Wasteland domain, you'll need the Realm Lord's personal decree. If you want to get close to the Realm Lord, you'll need to at least have a certain level of qualifications. You'll need to obtain the approval of that dead city lord of Cloud Nation before you can participate in the Snow Nation's Divine Realms Elite competition. If you win the competition, you'll naturally receive the Realm Lord's recognition." Seeing the Realm Lord, Yi Qinghan felt somewhat uneasy. If the Realm Lord of Snow Nation's Divine Realm were to discover his Great Wasteland tablet, wouldn't he be walking right into a trap? "Is there any other way?" Yi Qinghan asked with a frown. If there's no other way, then you can only rely on robbing. If you can defeat a supreme god, then you might as well give it a try." Sis Yao giggled. Yi Qinghan's lips curled into a mocking smile as he slowly stood up. He grabbed a soft veil from the cushion and draped it over Sis Yao's body. He wore his own clothes and sat down on the cushion. He stared at the vivid and lifelike painting on the wall, as if a phoenix had been reborn and was about to soar into the sky. He was somewhat absent-minded. "What other goals do you have? Tell me all at once. I'll help you do them all. Who asked me to be conquered by you?" Sis Yao rolled up the soft veil and wrapped it around her body, making her look even more charming. She sat beside Yi Qinghan and gently leaned on his shoulder. She followed his gaze and looked at the phoenix painting. "I want to conquer the 2 great generals of the Black Sky Guards and kill the Black Sky County Governor." Yi Qinghan turned his head and looked down at Sis Yao, not hiding anything. Sis Yao looked up at him with surprise, excitement, and curiosity in her eyes. Ha ha ha, I see. Ha 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 ha, elder sister Yao said. Looks like I was right about you. I knew you weren't an ordinary person. To think that you'd want to replace a prefectural governor right from the start. Although your idea is pretty domineering, it won't be easy to pull it off. Let's not talk about the two lieutenants, but the prefectural governor himself is incredibly strong. He's already close to becoming a paramount god. Yi Qinghan didn't expect the county governor to be so strong. He was actually half a step into the paramount god realm. In terms of fighting strength, he wasn't a match for him. Even if he joined forces with Devilly, the county governor would still need to bathe in devil blood and use forbidden arts. Half a step into the paramount god realm. Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes and fell into deep thought. After a long time, he said in a hoarse voice, I'm not the only one. There's also a young man who isn't inferior to me. Defeating him shouldn't be a problem, but killing him will be difficult. If the two great generals of the Black Sky Guards are there as well, I'm 100% sure that I can kill him. I didn't expect your cultivation to be so strong. You're actually confident that you can kill a half-step paramount god, Sis Yao said in shock. Yi Qinghan didn't reply. He just looked at Sis Yao in silence. If he wanted to suppress the two great generals, he would have to rely on her. I'll help you deal with the two great generals, Sis Yao said firmly. Yi Qinghan let out a breath of turbid air. With the help of this woman, who was familiar with the two great generals, his chances of success would increase greatly. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice, I won't be thanking you. However, what I want isn't just Black Sky County. I want Cloud City or even more. This process might take a long time, so I can't guarantee anything. However, Black Sky County is yours. It will always be yours. Sis Yao's eyes flashed. She couldn't see through Yi Qinghan. Also, since you want to be my lover, don't let anyone touch your body in the future. I don't like it. Dress properly. I'm not a good person. I'm a selfish person. Don't make me angry. Otherwise, the consequences will be severe. Yi Qinghan's manly aura erupted. He was full of wildness. An intense desire to dominate and conquer enveloped Sis Yao, causing her to freeze in place. Sis Yao was a true royal sister. She wanted to control everything. Today, in front of Yi Qinghan, she actually didn't have the slightest bit of control. She was forcefully dominated by Yi Qinghan. Not only did she not feel uncomfortable, she even felt sweet and happy. Chapter 1169. Yi Qinghan stayed in the private room until evening when he received Mo Li's message. He got up and went to the fragrance pavilion. His two enchanting faces made all women pale in comparison. He was as cold as ice as he walked straight to the private room on the 4th floor. Sister Yao looked at Mo Li, her eyes flashing with intelligence. She knew that this person was the young man Yi Qinghan had mentioned. She could feel a faint killing intent coming from Mo Li. It was a chilling and demonic aura. She was curious about Yi Qinghan and Mo Li's background. It was impossible for such powerful young men to appear in this area, let alone two at once. Sister Yao had changed into a very formal dress. She avoided Mo Li and walked out of the room with a nod and a smile. She was a very tactful woman. That was Sister Yao. I believe that she will help us deal with the two domain chief. After we suppress the two domain chiefs tonight, we will enter the city and kill the county chief. After that, we will meet the city lord of Cloud City in the name of the county chief. We need to enter the Great Wasteland domain and find the entrance to the Primal Chaos realm as soon as possible, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Reliable? Mo Li frowned, as if he was unwilling to believe Sister Yao. Yes, trust my judgment, Yi Qinghan said with a smile. Humph, we have only known each other for a day. Your judgment is too casual. How can I trust you? This woman may be beautiful and charming, but the more beautiful a woman is, the more she will lie. I don't trust her. You didn't tell her the whole plan, did you? Emily asked. Although we have only known each other for a short time, I have already deeply understood her. She is a top-grade woman. She is very tactful, sensible, and mature. It is not a problem to put her behind me. As for her, she knows half of my plan. It is simple. She doesn't know the final goal, Yi Qinghan said with an evil smile. I can't believe that the sect leader of the mad sect would be so frivolous. Sleeping with someone after knowing each other for only a day. I wonder what kind of expression your brothers would have if they knew about this. It seems like you're just pretending to be a gentleman. You're such a cold but passionate man. Don't act so righteous in front of me in the future, Emily blurted out in one breath. This was probably the sentence he said the most. Yi Qinghan's expression suddenly changed. His cold aura made Emily take a few steps back. I'm not a good person. I've never hidden anything from you, so don't provoke me. If you offend me, I won't rest until I'm dead. This time, it's the sorcerer tribe who tried to kill us. I'll definitely kill them when I get back. As for your demon god mountain, you'd better hand over those who killed my brothers to me. Otherwise, I'll uproot your demon god mountain. Emily took a few steps back. I won't hand over those people. I was the one who gave the order to surround the mad sect. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for holding Wentian captive. She's one of my people, and she has the demon god's inheritance gene. If you want to change history and the future, you have to bear the responsibility. If you want revenge, come and look for me. I'll take care of you when you get to the primal chaos realm, Emily replied in a muffled voice. Yi Qinghan pursed his lips and remained silent. He clenched his fists tightly. It was as if he only understood at this moment that those people from the mad sect were killed because he didn't believe in the supernatural. He wanted to delay the unification of the primal chaos realm, but in the end they still reunited. He wanted to keep Qin Wentian here and suppress the demon god's inheritance gene, but in the end it was still activated. Everything didn't go according to his plan. Am I too stubborn? Was it because I didn't believe in evil? Could it be that everything in this world has a fixed path, and we all follow the path of karma step by step? If that's the case, what's the meaning of our lives? Those who defy the heavens die, those who obey the heavens grieve? Who's the one controlling the fate of this world, and turning the roulette of the world? A cold glint flashed in Yi Qinghan's eyes. He was filled with killing intent as he hoarsely muttered to himself, I'd rather die standing than live a pitiful life. I don't believe that I can't win against the heavens. I can't win against the person behind the heavens. Emoli furrowed his brows. Looking at Yi Qinghan's killing intent and cold glint in his eyes, he actually felt a chill run down his spine. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's communication amulet flashed. He took a look and saw that it was a message from Qiuwei. Yi Qinghan glanced at it and said in a low voice, We'll talk about our matters in the future. The two domain chiefs and Qiuwei are here. I'll get Sister Yao to prepare. Today's matter cannot be allowed to go wrong. I must obtain the position of prefectural governor. Okay, we'll settle our matters in the primal chaos realm. Emoli nodded. Yi Qinghan pushed open the door. Sister Yao was right outside the private room. Looking down from above, the entire fragrance pavilion was reflected in her eyes. Sister Yao, they are heading towards the fragrance pavilion. I'll have to trouble you to prepare. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Sister Yao winked at him and snapped her fingers. 4 top-grade beauties walked out from the private room next door. Among them were Cat Lady and Snake Lady. They were in Jiulong and Wang Juanfeng's favorites. As for the other two, they were naturally Qiuwei and Mo Li's. Men, as long as there are wine and beauties, there's no man that can't be settled. If a man doesn't like beauties and wine, then he's not human. Leave tonight to me. I guarantee that they won't be able to walk out of this room. Sister Yao transmitted a message. Then I'll be counting on you. Yi Qinghan smiled and gestured for the four beauties to enter first. He and Sister Yao went to the entrance of the fragrance pavilion to wait for the two domain chiefs. Soon, Chiu Wei respectfully brought two middle-aged men over. Yi Qinghan looked at them from afar. The two men were wearing luxurious brocade robes. One was a burly man with a full beard, while the other was a middle-aged man with fair skin. However, their eyes were filled with wine, women, avarice, and spirit. No matter how they tried to hide it, it couldn't escape Yi Qinghan's eyes. Yi Qinghan and Sister Yao went up to them with a smile. Yi Qinghan from Frost Demon's stronghold greets the two domain chief. I've heard a lot about you and would like to get to know you. I'd like to invite the two domain chiefs to a cup of wine. Coincidentally, I met fellow Taoist Chiu yesterday and learned that he thought that the two domain chiefs were willing to do me the honor. I'm truly in awe. Yi Qinghan slightly bowed and said respectfully, And Jialong and Wang Junfeng coldly looked at Yi Qinghan and snorted. They clearly didn't think much of Yi Qinghan. They were purely here for their favorite cat girl and snake girl. However, the two of them were top-class courtesans. Their prices weren't cheap, so they couldn't just visit them whenever they wanted. Yo, domain chiefs, I heard that fellow Taoist Yi actually invited the two of you today, so I came out to greet you. Give me some face. Sister Yao swayed her hips in a flirtatious manner. Her charming voice made the two domain chiefs' eyes shine. However, they didn't have the guts to do so. Ha ha ha, Sister Yao is really giving us face today. In the past, when we came here, you didn't even look at us. Today you actually personally came to greet us. The ones who are in awe are us brothers. And Jialong laughed loudly. Domain chiefs, please come in. I've already booked the biggest and best rooms for you. Fellow Taoist Yi and I have a lot of fun meeting each other, so we also want to have a gathering. You won't mind, right? Sister Yao asked seductively. That's the fortune of 3 lifetimes. Please come in, Wang Junfeng said excitedly. Chapter 1170. The two lieutenants followed Sister Yao into the fragrance pavilion. The two of them were famous in the Black Sky County. Who didn't know them? Therefore, they would be hit on from time to time. However, they were too arrogant and even Yi Qinghan was ignored. Yi Qinghan maintained his smile. He was glad that Sister Yao was here today. Otherwise, it would be difficult to deal with these two men who only had women and wine in their eyes. After entering the private room, Jialong and Wang Junfeng only nodded at Yi Qinghan and Emoli. Then, they each hugged their favorite women and sat at the table. Chiu Wei was also assigned a woman, while Emoli sat beside another woman. Sister Yao showed the elegance of a royal sister and controlled the situation. She ordered a large amount of delicacies and used the best wine in the fragrance pavilion, maiden fragrance. It was definitely in Jialong and Wang Junfeng's favorite. In the past, they rarely drank it because they spent their own money. However, today Yi Qinghan paid for them, so they naturally drank it in big mouthfuls. In addition, Snake Girl and Cat Girl urged them to drink. Sister Yao also smiled charmingly at the side. Lieutenants, I haven't had the chance to drink with the two of you. Today, we won't leave until we're drunk. Otherwise, you're not giving me face. The royal sister stood up with a smile and took the lead to drink a cup. Ha ha ha, Sister Yao is too polite. Today, it's all thanks to Stockade Master Yi. Otherwise, I wouldn't have the chance to sit at the same table as Sister Yao. And Jialong laughed until his beard trembled. He stood up humbly and bowed back to Sister Yao. Yi Qinghan and Emoli couldn't interrupt at all. Chiu Wei didn't dare to say anything either and allowed Sister Yao to control them. Cat Girl and Snake Girl toasted with all their might and wandered around the two of them without restraint. And Jialong and Wang Junfeng lost their minds and drank big mouthfuls of wine and meat with smiles on their faces. They didn't expect Sister Yao to deal with the two of them. Yi Qinghan lowered his head and tasted the maiden fragrance. It was indeed a good wine, rich and mellow. Just a whiff of it would cause one's heart to tremble. It was as if what was in front of him wasn't a cup of fine wine, but the naked body of a beautiful woman, perfect and flawless. After drinking it, a tyrannical energy gushed out, causing one's heroic spirit to soar. It was as if he had seen a hero on the battlefield, never to return. His corpse was wrapped in leather, and only a shroud was sent home. It caused one's heart to ache. Yi Qinghan's T2. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect Stockade Master Yi to say what I wanted to say the most. Yi Qinghan smiled as he stood up. He immediately lifted the lid of the 2 jars and said straightforwardly, "Men don't use cups when drinking wine. To the 2 domain chiefs who are both men, I'll drink this jar first." After saying that, Yi Qinghan opened the wine jug, lifted a jug of wine, and gulped it down. Gurgle gurgle, Yi Qinghan's domineering drinking caused Jiulong and Wang Junfeng to be stunned. Sister Yao was also dumbfounded. This maiden's fragrance smelled very fragrant, but once it entered the stomach, one would feel its unyielding and domineering nature. The violent impact would rush to the brain, and even spiritual substance wouldn't be able to neutralize it in a short period of time. Furthermore, with such a large jar of it, even the most domineering man would lose control. The maiden's fragrance poured down from the wine jar and was swallowed by Yi Qinghan. "I'll do it. Lieutenant N, please feel free to do as you wish. I will toast to Lieutenant Wang later." Yi Qinghan's face was flushed red, and his eyes were blazing. His unruliness and fierceness rushed out of his body at this moment, subduing everyone in the room. Emoli was also someone who understood wine. After taking a sip, he knew that this kind of wine could make experts drunk even if they drank it slowly. Furthermore, if this jar was drunk just like that, even a supreme god would be a little drunk. Good. This is the first time this old man has met such a real man. If I don't get drunk, then I really don't know how to appreciate favors. I'll do it. And Jiulong's face was red from being stared at by the feline girl and Sister Yu. He had no choice but to drink. He might as well be straightforward and show off his manliness. Perhaps the feline girl would be completely subdued. Whoosh! And Jiulong tore open the jar and began to drink heartily. When he drank halfway, he started to stagger. Sister Yao and the feline girl cheered, urging him to drink the remaining half in one go. Boom! After Jiulong finished drinking, he directly sat down on the chair. His eyes were somewhat absent-minded. It was obvious that he was drunk. Yi Qinghan smiled slightly, looking more like a scholarly young master. He opened 2 more jars of wine and handed one to Wang Junfeng. He said with a hoarse voice, "Lieutenant Wang, I'll drink your half. I hope to become friends with the 2 of you. If you need anything in the future, you can come to Frost Demon's stronghold to find me. If I can do it, I won't hesitate to do it." After he finished speaking, Yi Qinghan picked up the wine jug and started drinking again. Wang Junfeng was stunned. He had never seen a man who could drink so much. Such a domineering and heroic man was like a general on the battlefield. Don't laugh while lying drunk on the battlefield. Since ancient times, how many people have returned from war? This was the true definition of lying drunk on the battlefield. Aside from Emoli, everyone seemed to have seen Yi Qinghan on the battlefield, holding back 10,000 enemies by himself. He killed until the enemies were terrified. The Realm Army. The Realm Army at the border of the 8 great worlds. Only they could be so strong. Only they could be so domineering. They were definitely the supreme kings of the same level. In terms of individual combat power, aside from the supreme gods, no one could compete with the Realm Army. Their combat experience was more powerful than any chief disciple of any sect. Wang Junfeng couldn't see through Yi Qinghan, so he didn't dare to offend him. If Yi Qinghan was really a retired Realm Army soldier, he wouldn't even give him face when drinking. There would be hard days in the future. So he directly stood up and drank with Yi Qinghan. The fire in Yi Qinghan's eyes burned even brighter. His face turned redder. The strength of the maiden's fragrance couldn't be dissolved with divine power. After drinking 2 jars of wine, he couldn't stand it either. His veins popped out and the pressure was terrifying. He wanted to pull out his sword and go berserk. Pooh! Wang Junfeng drank more than half and finally couldn't take it anymore. He turned around and spat out all the wine in his mouth. Stockade Master Yi has a good tolerance for alcohol. Wang Junfeng sighed. Stockade Master Yi is a retired realm army soldier? And Jiulong stared at Yi Qinghan. He stabilized his last bit of rationality and asked in shock. Sister Yao was also shocked. It was as if she was meeting Yi Qinghan for the first time. Phew! Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. It was filled with the fragrance of the maiden's fragrance. He nodded slightly to numb the 2 lieutenants. His eyes, however, looked at Emoli. The light in his eyes was only understood by him. At this moment, Emoli and Yi Qinghan suddenly attacked while everyone was stunned. Yi Qinghan dealt with Jiulong while Emoli attacked Wang Junfeng. They were as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, their fingertips grabbed onto the 2's throat. Divine power poured out and sealed the 2 lieutenants' spiritual space, making them unable to release their divine power. You! And Jiulong was shocked. Seeing the flames in Yi Qinghan's eyes, his body stiffened. He didn't dare to move and could only ask for help from Sister Yao. My target is not you. It's the county governor of Black Sky County. As long as you cooperate, I will spare your lives. Furthermore, I will give you the authority to control Black Sky County, Yi Qinghan said coolly. The women in the room were all Sister Yao's subordinate. They didn't panic and just silently retreated to the side, waiting for Sister Yao's orders. How many years has it been since someone killed a county chief? It was fine if they had a background, but if they didn't, the city lord would be angry. Once the supreme god was angry, the county chief would be dead. And Jiulong and Wang Junfeng looked at Sister Yao in fear, hoping that she would say something. After all, her status was different. Cooperate with them to kill Black Jundao. His position as county chief has come to an end. He offended the 3rd young master and will die sooner or later. Kill him and bring his head to the 3rd young master. He will naturally not let the city lord punish you, Sister Yao said emotionlessly. Chapter 1171. And Jiulong and Wang Junfeng had drunk a little too much, so they were still unable to move their bodies. Their spiritual space was also sealed, and Yi Qinghan had placed a soul restriction on them. Now, they were like fish on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. Yi Qinghan had drunk 2 jars of maiden fragrance in a row. At this moment, he could no longer control the divine power in his body. His dragon blood was boiling, on the verge of erupting. His veins were bulging, and his wildness and fierceness rushed out, suppressing everyone in the room. Even Mo Li's blood was somewhat stagnant. The Black Sky County chief was cultivating at Black Spirit Mountain outside the county capital. The spiritual space there was very active, making it very suitable for closed-door cultivation. And Jiulong was the Black Sky Guard's lieutenant, while Wang Junfeng was the city guard's lieutenant. The 2 of them knew most of the county chief's movements. Thus, Yi Qinghan easily grasped the county chief's information. Cat Lady, Snake Lady, and the other 2 women were Sister Yao's trusted aides. Although they were trustworthy, Yi Qinghan did not trust them. Thus, he did not let them leave. Until midnight, when most of the people in the fragrance pavilion had entered the guest rooms to rest. Only then did Yi Qinghan and Mo Li lead the 2 lieutenants out of the room. Sister Yao followed them out. Look after them. I don't want this plan to be exposed, Yi Qinghan whispered into her ear. I'll lead them outside. If they need help, I'll take action. If not, I'll watch from the side. Sister Yao smiled and said, My sisters are quite strong. Although they are not a match for a lieutenant, they should have no problem keeping the county chief busy for an incense stick's worth of time. Only then did Yi Qinghan feel relieved and stepped out of the fragrance pavilion. Along the way, the group rushed towards Black Spirit Mountain. Facing the night wind, Yi Qinghan's mind became clearer. However, his blood flowed even faster, becoming incomparably violent. Dragon scales covered his entire body, and no matter how hard he tried to suppress it, a dragon's might still spread out. At midnight, when the darkness was thick, Yi Qinghan and the others arrived at Black Spirit Mountain. Yi Qinghan and Mo Li were currently setting up a formation to control the entire Black Spirit Mountain. However, they did not have enough manpower. They could only rely on Sister Yao, Cat Girl, and a few others. The array was quickly set up, and Jiulong, the strongest existence, was personally controlling the array core. Furthermore, the array core was outside the array. As long as the array core was not damaged and Jiulong did not die, the entire array would not be destroyed. Even if the mountains and seas were moved inside, it would not be transmitted to the outside world. He could not use the Great Wastelands tablet. Otherwise, if he alerted the Realm Lord of the Snow Nation's God World, Yi Qinghan would not be able to escape even if he had a pair of wings. He could only rely on his own strength to fight against a half-step utmost being. Yi Qinghan and Mo Li looked at each other and entered the Black Spirit Mountain with their respective divine weapons. The grand formation was sealed and no sound was heard. The spiritual essence in the Black Spirit Mountain was very active, especially the ice element's spiritual essence. Thus, the temperature here was exceptionally cold. Yi Qinghan activated more than 10 godheads and started to devour the spiritual essence in a frenzy. He wanted to turn this place into a destitute place so that Si Jundao would not have a chance to recover. Hua hua hua. The spiritual essence was somewhat out of control. Tens of thousands of spiritual essence were forcefully sucked away by Yi Qinghan and Mo Li, forming huge dragons. The entire Black Spirit Mountain was only 30 li in radius. It could not withstand the full force of Yi Qinghan and Mo Li. In half an incense's time, it was completely devoured. In the depths of the Black Spirit Mountain, there was an abyss palace. It was the place where Si Jundao cultivated in seclusion. There were large amounts of spiritual essence god stones in the depths of the abyss. Furthermore, they were all of the mystic grade and above. Thus, Si Jundao was exceptionally sensitive to spiritual essence. When he felt that there was no spiritual essence in the outside world, he was immediately shocked. He pulled out the divine sword beside him and walked out of his seclusion place. Black Spirit Mountain was the forbidden ground of the Black Sky County. Everyone knew that this was the seclusion place of the county chief. Only those who did not have eyes would come here to cultivate. Boom! Si Jundao waved his hand without hesitation and activated the spiritual essence God force in his body to attack Yi Qinghan and Mo Li. He did not say anything and directly suppressed them. Hua! Yi Qinghan soared into the sky. His berserk blade tore through the darkness and slashed at Si Jundao. Boom! Yi Qinghan's divine force poured out. This slash had reached his limit. Furthermore, Si Jundao only thought that his opponent was an ordinary giant god and could easily kill him. However, he did not expect to meet a tough opponent. The giant palm was directly shattered by the heavy berserk blade, and the blade light attacked his body first. Pung! Si Jundao hurriedly pulled out a divine sword and instantly borrowed the power of heaven and earth to counterattack. It directly collided with the heavy berserk blade. 2 streams of chi soared into the sky and flattened the nearby mountains. However, they were blocked by the array and the aftermath came to an abrupt end. The 5 elements battle body erupted. The dragon body erupted as well. Their strength suddenly increased by 1,000 times. Boom! 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 The 2 figures separated as soon as they collided and fiercely crashed into the distant mountain. However, both of them were extremely strong. They actually turned the situation around in midair, trampling space and time as they charged at each other again. Yi Qinghan steadied himself and held the blade with both hands. His right shoulder was at the same level as his arm. Under the stimulation of the maiden fragrance, his unparalleled tyrannical aura became extremely violent. He was like a war god from the ninth heaven. With a furious dragon roar, a divine dragon appeared behind him. 5 elements come out, splitting heaven and earth. Yi Qinghan twisted his waist and shattered mountains and rivers. His 5 elements' divine force roared out. With a thought, the surrounding temperature suddenly dropped by 1,000 times. It froze for 20 miles. Some sparkling and translucent ice shards appeared on the shattered mountain rocks. Die! Whoosh! True Lord Yun's sword carried a sharp icy aura that was enough to suppress the giant god's qi and blood. However, the dragon blood in Yi Qinghan's body was about to explode. The 2 jars of maiden fragrance were not for nothing. They could not suppress his madness. Boom! Yi Qinghan and True Lord Yun collided forcefully. The shockwave sent sand and stones flying and covered the sky. The terrifying power actually suppressed True Lord Yun's peak attack. True Lord Yun was directly sent flying by this power that did not belong to the mortal world. The 2 domain chiefs, Sister Yao, and the rest were stunned. This was not a human, but a humanoid monster. Mo Li immediately used demon bloodbathing, causing his entire body to be filled with blood. A powerful supreme divine might burst out from him, as though a demon god had personally arrived. The demon god's spear in his hand shone brightly as it pierced through space and time. Bang! True Lord Yun was hit by Yi Qinghan's saber and was sent crashing into a mountain slope. His 4 limbs were almost shattered. It was at this moment that Mo Li launched his first attack. It was as if he wanted to destroy this world. His strength was not any weaker than Yi Qinghan's, and his attack power and destructive power were even more superior. True Lord Yun was shocked. He gritted his teeth and tried to escape. However, his speed was not as fast as Mo Li. He could only attack again in an attempt to push Mo Li back. However, when the tip of his sword collided with the demon god's spear, the sword actually bent and slammed into his chest. Puff! True Lord Yun did not expect 2 such terrifying existences to suddenly appear. Caught off guard, he suffered 2 heavy blows and was sent flying while coughing out blood. Chapter 1172. Boom boom boom. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. 20 li of mountain range was uprooted and destroyed. With Yi Qinghan and Mo Li working together, they were absolutely invincible against anyone below the supreme god level. In addition, Mo Li had demonized and entered a berserk state, bathing in demonic blood. His baleful aura affected He Juandao's mind. He was indeed a half-step supreme god, but he was still not a supreme god. The 3 fought chaotically within the formation, flying through the sky and burrowing into the ground. Occasionally they would explode, shaking the mountains and cracking the earth. The spectators outside were dumbfounded, their hair standing on end. Yi Qinghan was tyrannical, Mo Li was cruel, and He Juandao was powerful. They fought like a powerful realm army, their strength far surpassing theirs. After fighting for an entire hour, He Juandao's body was covered in blood. His physical defense was completely shattered. No matter how he adjusted or used any secret technique, he could not gain the upper hand because Yi Qinghan's strength was too strong, so strong that it could cause fatal damage to him. Every time he was defeated, Mo Li would follow up with another attack. His destructive power was even stronger. After being heavily injured several times, his strength was getting weaker and weaker, and he could only passively take the beating. They could not escape. The 2 commanders did not have the chance to betray, nor did they dare to. If Yi Qinghan wanted to kill them, it would only take a thought. No wonder he is so confident and tyrannical. Among the younger generation, they are the most qualified to become a realm army. Sister Yao looked at the battlefield with infatuation. Although she could not see the trajectory, and was even covered by sand and stones, she could still see the irresistible attraction of that tyrannical figure. Emoli did not want to delay any longer. His peak strength could only last for 2 hours. He used a supreme forbidden technique from the demonic god scripture. A spear swept up the momentum of space and time, directly tearing apart the formation. The spear wanted to destroy everything in front of it, turning into a straight line and piercing towards He Jundao. Great desolate world-breaking technique. Yi Qinghan also used his strongest move. This punch contained the great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger and a series of other powerful divine abilities and secret arts. It caused a strange phenomenon in the heaven and earth. It swept up a true dragon and blasted towards He Jundao. The powerful attack locked down his escape path, forcing He Jundao to resist it head-on. However, with his cultivation, how could he resist the supreme saint technique and the supreme great desolate Tao scripture? Puchi! Boom! Yi Qinghan and Mo Li struck He Jundao's body at the same time. The long spear pierced through his head while Yi Qinghan's fist landed on his chest. He Jundao's chest was actually pierced through by Yi Qinghan's fist. Just as Yi Qinghan used the power of the Great Desolate to break the world, a beam of light suddenly shot out from a palace in the holy city of ice of the Snow Country's god realm. A thought instantly enveloped half of the Snow Country's god realm. It was quickly covering this place. A powerful pressure suddenly covered the sky and earth. Yi Qinghan was shocked. He knew that his great desolate power had ruined his attempt to break the world. He shouted at Demon, "Hurry up and bring his body to the palace. I will make up for it." Swish! A large amount of icy spiritual aura gushed out from Yi Qinghan's body, covering an area of 100 miles in an attempt to erase the power of the Great Wilderness. Fortunately, he didn't use the Great Wastelands tablet. Otherwise, he wouldn't have to hide it. Yi Qinghan released almost all the spiritual aura in his body. The spiritual aura in this place was almost extremely dense. The great desolate power quickly returned to his body. The aura was restrained and the tyrannical aura also dispersed. Following that, Yi Qinghan felt a spiritual aura sweep past him. It hesitated for a moment before charging into the distance. Hoo hoo hoo, dong dong dong. Yi Qinghan's frantic heartbeat could no longer be suppressed. It was as if a mortal was being stared at by a top god. Too strong. It was definitely not a supreme god. The entire territory of the Snow Country's god realm was vast and boundless. The realm master completed his inspection in a short 2 hours. However, he didn't discover that special power. At this moment, Yi Qinghan had also completely retracted the overflowing great desolate power into his body. His aura was restrained, and he was like an ordinary king. He didn't dare to make the slightest movement. Following that, a second spiritual aura swept across the sky. However, this time, not only did it stop, it stayed for a long time. Yi Qinghan's forehead was covered in sweat, but he still gritted his teeth and endured. That powerful spiritual aura crossed time and space and rushed into the underground. It discovered the terrifying demonic nature and powerful qi and blood on Mo Li's body. However, it didn't discover the corpse because the corpse had already been dissolved by Mo Li. The wisp of power of desolates on his body was also neutralized by the terrifying demonic nature and demonic blood on Mo Li's body. Mo Li was sitting in the cave, one with his spear. A dense demonic nature filled the underground palace. Otherwise, this spiritual aura would definitely have discovered the power of desolates, even if it was very faint. After about 10 breaths, the spiritual aura quickly retreated and disappeared without a trace. Tens of thousands of miles away, in the sacred city of ice, a white-haired, sage-like old man with eyes full of vicissitudes and wisdom. However, at this moment, there was a trace of doubt in his eyes. Was this old man being too sensitive? Just now, in that instant, I clearly felt the power of Desolate's fluctuation. It should be in my snow country's divine realm, but why couldn't I find it? Was it an illusion? The old man muttered to himself in a hoarse voice, that aura was still very weak, so weak that it could be ignored. It's impossible for it to be erased instantly after erupting, without me noticing. This old man was the realm lord of the snow country's divine realm, the heavenly snow god. At this moment, he suspected that he was overthinking things. The snow country's divine realm was so vast that it was boundless. There were wars everywhere. For example, Yi Qinghan and He Juandao's battle. There were many battles every day. The heavenly snow god didn't pay too much attention to Yi Qinghan. If a person at this level didn't sense the power of Desolates, he wouldn't send his spiritual aura to patrol a world. Perhaps someone accidentally released the Desolate's god stone, but it was quickly sealed. He has been dead for so long, and the great desolate domain has been destroyed. It's impossible for there to be an inheritor. The heavenly snow god thought for a moment and said firmly, "Black Sky County, Black Spirit Mountain." Yi Qinghan was scared out of his wits. This wasn't even the Great Desolate's monument. If the Great Desolate's monument was used, even the realm lords of the outer realm would be alerted. Sister Yao didn't understand what that strand of spiritual aura represented. She was so scared that her face turned pale. She quickly ran to Yi Qinghan's side and asked in shock, "Stockade Master Yi, that was—" Yi Qinghan knew it was a realm lord, but he didn't want to cause an uproar. He shook his head and said, "I don't know. It should be a supreme god expert." The two lieutenants were guarding the array. The array was torn apart and sent flying by the shockwave. They didn't pay attention to what Yi Qinghan said to Emoli. At this moment they were also confused. Soon Emoli walked up from below. He stared at Yi Qinghan with shock in his eyes. He was a smart person. He knew that the soul just now was directed at Yi Qinghan because he used the power of Desolates to break the world. "I don't care who you are. In the future, you are not allowed to use that kind of cultivation technique in front of me. I don't want to be implicated and die," Emoli warned with a cold voice. "Everyone, please subscribe to QQ. Thank you so much." Chapter 1173. Yi Qinghan was indeed scared stiff. He felt a layer of goosebumps on his face. If he was discovered by the realm lord of the Snow Empire, no one could predict what his fate would be. Luckily, I didn't use the Great Wasteland's monument in the Primal Chaos realm. Otherwise, I would have lost my life. Such a realm lord is simply too despairing. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. His entire body was sore and powerless. He leaned on the back of the violent strike saber and couldn't calm down for a long time. He couldn't use the Great Desolate Tao scripture for now. He couldn't use the Great Wasteland's monument either. Yi Qinghan was very sure that he couldn't use the Great Desolate Tao scripture or the Great Wasteland's monument. Otherwise, he would be throwing his life away. Gulp. Yi Qinghan swallowed a mouthful of saliva and slowly stood up with the help of violent strike. His voice had changed and was incomparably hoarse. He said in a low voice, "Let's return to the fragrance pavilion first. I need to rest." Yi Qinghan's mind was exhausted to the extreme. It wasn't only because of the battle with the Black Sky County governor, but more importantly, the pressure came from the Realm Lord, an unreachable existence. The group of people didn't utter a single word. They were scared stiff by Yi Qinghan and Emoli's strength. Their battle prowess was too barbaric and violent. A powerful prefectural governor had actually been killed by these two youngsters. It was simply unimaginable. Emoli's expression wasn't good either. His legs were still trembling. It could be seen that he was badly frightened by the Realm Master's divine sense. Compared to the giant god, the difference between a Realm Master and a Supreme God was like the difference between a mortal and a god. There was no comparison. Most likely, when a supreme god faced a realm master, it would be like an ordinary cultivator facing a powerful god. They didn't speak for the rest of the journey. When they returned to the fragrance pavilion, it was already dark before dawn. Although the pavilion was brightly lit, there was no one inside. Yi Qinghan and the others were led to the guest room at the back by Sister Yao. Emoli was cold and didn't let anyone serve him. Instead, he entered the room alone. Although the two domain chiefs were frightened, they still brought the cat girl and snake girl into the room to relieve their shock. Yi Qinghan was helped into the room by Big Sis Yao. He slumped onto the bed, his eyes glazed over. Sis Yao gently stroked Yi Qinghan's back, trying to get him to relax a little. You seem to be exhausted and your body is stiff. Is it because of the soul search earlier? Sister Yao asked softly. Yi Qinghan's body trembled slightly. He opened his eyes and looked at the seductive Sister Yao before saying hoarsely, "Don't ask so many questions." Curiosity killed the cat. Looking at Yi Qinghan's cold expression, Sis Yao knew that there were some things that Yi Qinghan was unwilling to let her know. Thus, she nodded her head and fell silent. Lying on his broad chest, she moved her hands and whispered, "Don't be nervous, it's over. Relax a little and divert your attention." Yi Qinghan smiled coldly. When he saw that Sister Yao had taken the initiative to remove her jacket, a flame flashed in his eyes. He flipped over and pinned her down, saying coldly, "Don't move. You're not going anywhere today. Just stay here." Sis Yao was stunned for a moment. She reached out and hugged Yi Qinghan, not daring to mess around. Yi Qinghan's soul was too exhausted, and he quickly fell asleep. Sis Yao gently flipped him over and covered him with a blanket. Her eyes never left his face. That soul search earlier didn't come from an ordinary paramount god. At the very least, it wasn't the one in Cloud City. Could it be that he has a consummate paramount god enemy? Sis Yao frowned as she recalled the major events that had happened in the past few years. She didn't recall any paramount gods slaughtering anyone in the dozen or so cities nearby. If there was a consummate paramount god enemy, Sis Yao would naturally have to avoid trouble and maintain a certain distance from Yi Qinghan. After all, a paramount god wasn't someone that the giant god could stand against. The difference between heaven and earth was like heaven and earth. She was mature and steady, and she had been in the god world of the Snow Empire for so long. If she didn't know how to protect herself, how could she have survived until now? Sigh. I wanted to use you to escape from Yun Zhongjuan's clutches, but your fate is even more tragic than mine. Sis Yao sighed softly. Little by little, elder sister Yao was prepared to give up on Yi Qinghan. Although she wouldn't betray him, she didn't want to continue working with him. Clearly, she didn't want to get involved in the feud between him and a great circle paramount god. As the sky gradually brightened, Yi Qinghan suddenly opened his eyes. They flashed with golden light as he saw Sis Yao standing by the window. Sis Yao turned to look at Yi Qinghan. The emotions in her eyes had already vanished, replaced by coldness, maturity, and wisdom. Yi Qinghan noticed the change in Sis Yao. Frowning, he asked, "What's wrong? I've already helped you. From now on, all you have to do is get close to the City Lord, participate in the elite tournament, and attract the attention of the Realm Lord. I'll introduce you to the third young master, but I won't be able to help you anymore. From now on, we won't know each other," Sis Yao said calmly. Sitting on the edge of the bed, Yi Qinghan tapped his fingers on the edge of the bed as he stared intently at Sister Yao. Most likely, she had already guessed that he had a great enemy and no longer wished to cooperate with him. However, with such an important secret of his, how could he allow her to leave so easily? Yi Qinghan got up and walked to the window. He placed his hand on Sis Yao's waist and stroked her gently. No matter how she struggled, she couldn't break free. "Do you think I can let you leave without worry?" Yi Qinghan asked hoarsely. "Yi Qinghan, I don't want to get involved in the grudge between you and that expert. That kind of person isn't someone I can provoke. Sis Yao stopped struggling and allowed Yi Qinghan to continue. As expected, she has guessed it. Yi Qinghan silently mused. His hands became even more brazen as his mind spun rapidly. If Sis Yao knew that his enemy was the Realm Lord, things would be too dangerous for him. CSISI. Yi Qinghan exerted force, directly tearing apart the veil covering Sis Yao's body, revealing everything. Bang! Yi Qinghan casually tossed Sis Yao onto the bed. Right now, we are grasshoppers on the same rope. Do you think I don't know that you have a motive for getting close to me? Now that we're halfway through our cooperation, you want to break it off? You already know what you should know and what you shouldn't know. If you want to leave now, you will truly disappoint me. Yi Qinghan coldly stared at the beautiful woman with no emotions. Then what do you want? Sis Yao frowned. She pulled the blanket over and covered half of her body. As expected, it was like hugging a pipa to cover half of her face, adding to her charm. Yi Qinghan evilly laughed. He leaned on top of her and placed his hands on the bed to support himself. He stared at Sis Yao and spoke, I've told you before that I'm not a good person. I'm only responsible for myself. If you help me wholeheartedly and help me keep this a secret, the matter you have with me wouldn't be a problem at all. Isn't it just a city lord? I'll just help you destroy him. Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand and pulled the blanket away. The coldness in his eyes grew even more intense, causing Sis Yao to be incomparably nervous. I like obedient women, and I also like intelligent women. You are very intelligent, being able to guess that I have a great enemy with just a strand of your spiritual sense. However, I hope that you will be obedient. Although I'm not a good person, I'm not unpardonably evil. Those who help me, I will do my best to repay them. Do you understand? Yi Qinghan retracted the golden armor on his body. He faced Sis Yao openly and forcefully suppressed her. That pressure and gentleness caused him to go berserk as he attacked like a madman. Sis Yao let out a low groan as she held on to Zhang Xian's back tightly. You little vixen, why must you force me into danger? Sis Yao harumphed. Chapter 1174. The two of them made love to each other, and Yi Qinghan finally managed to get this woman under control after a series of threats and promises. Sister Yao gave Yi Qinghan a name and told him to find this person. Then, he would bring her to see the third young master. The rest would be up to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan was very experienced and confident in dealing with a spoiled brat. Yun Zhonghai was the younger brother of the city lord Yun Zhongjuan. He was also the uncle of the Yun family's third young master. This Yun Zhonghai seemed to be very fond of Sister Yao, but he didn't have the courage nor the opportunity to get close to her. He could only watch her silently. If Sister Yao had a request, he would definitely fulfill it. Yi Qinghan had Jiulong and Wang Junfeng secretly take control of Black Sky County. They killed all of the county governor's bloodline and secretly sent away the ignorant children so that they would never know their identities. Perhaps this was the greatest mercy for them. On this day, Yi Qinghan and Mo Li brought along He Jundao's broken life token as they teleported from Black Sky County to the city amongst the clouds. The size of the city amongst the clouds was boundless, and the distance between Black Sky County and the city amongst the clouds was immeasurable. This snow empire had tens of thousands of cities in the divine world, and it was obvious that its size was not something the chaos world could compare to. However, not all the cities were guarded by supreme gods. There weren't many supreme gods in the Snow Empire's divine realm either. Although the number was a little exaggerated compared to the Chaos realm, the number was always maintained at a few hundred, neither more nor less. There would only be one realm lord in each realm. Only the Chaos realm didn't have a realm lord. Such a realm's grade was too low, and it was very difficult for a realm lord to appear. Yun Zhongjuan was the city lord of the city amongst the clouds. He wasn't a true paramount god, but he was infinitely close. With his paramount god weapon, he could definitely fight a paramount god. However, he definitely wouldn't win. He was weaker than a paramount god, but stronger than a half-step paramount god. He was lustful, greedy, ruthless, and cruel. He was a complete tyrant. He had tens of thousands of descendants, but only a few were doted on, and the third young master was one of them. Yi Qinghan secretly recalled the information Sister Yao had given him. He learned that the third young master was no different from Yun Zhongjuan. In other words, he had inherited all of his father's good genes. He was greedy, lustful, ruthless, and extremely talented. In just 10,000 years, he had already reached the peak of the giant god realm and was deeply doted by Yun Zhongjuan. Traveling through time and space, the two appeared outside the city amongst the clouds. The city amongst the clouds was towering and thick. The city walls were like coiling dragons that stretched for eternity. The ancient buildings reached into the clouds. From afar, it looked majestic. Standing on the city walls, one could see the blue sky and white clouds at their fingertip. Defensive ruins covered the mountains and rivers. Humans seemed particularly small in front of such buildings. Giant gods only felt a deep sense of powerlessness when facing such a city wall. At this moment, Yi Qinghan felt that he was really small. The entire city was filled with the profound mysteries of the Great Tao, making it impossible for anyone to profane it. The city gate tower was dozens of meters tall and had an arc-shaped dome. Many experts were holding divine bows and crossbows and looking outside the city. There were also many people hiding in the dark. Dense murderous intent and gloomy aura assaulted them. Waves of evil aura came from underground. Who knew how many bones and flesh were buried under this city? Yi Qinghan looked at Emoli and saw that he was lost in thought. The demonic god mountain was indeed very strong, but compared to this city, it seemed to be much weaker. This city shouldn't have been built by Yun Zhongjuan. I wonder how long it has been passed down, Emoli muttered to himself. Let's enter the city and look for Yun Zhonghai first, Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. The two of them entered the city. The city was emitting an aura of vicissitude. Generations after generations of history were flipped. Countless buildings were orderly, bejeweled palaces, bright lanterns, and the streets extended in all directions. There was an endless flow of practitioners and endless stream of horses and carriages. Just like in the secular world, merchants occupied the streets to operate. Handsome men and beautiful women, rich and noble children were all enjoying life. The two great roads ran through the east, west, south, and north, separating the city amongst the clouds. Yi Qinghan followed the great roads in the center, strolling from the south to the north. His eyes swept across the streets. Many people were selling rare treasures or rare materials obtained from adventures. All kinds of unknown rocks and iron pieces were placed everywhere. Yi Qinghan was not interested in buying and strode forward. Emoli maintained a certain distance from him and did not approach him. The streets were noisy. Peddlers and adventurers were constantly calling out, and there were even people pulling each other. The brothel's geisha were even more unscrupulous, and the lights were not extinguished during the day or night. I will act alone from now on. No matter which one of us is in trouble, one of us must return to the primal chaos realm. If one of us is doomed, don't try to be brave and rescue him. Do you understand? Yi Qinghan increased his speed and transmitted a message when he was about to enter the North District. Emoli snorted and nodded. No problem. The North District was guarded by a large number of cloud guards. If one wanted to enter the North District, not only did one need to have an illustrious identity, one also needed to have a recommendation or a warrant from a direct descendant of the Yun family in the North District. The North District was very big. The streets were 300 meters wide and ran from east to west. There were many adventurers wandering on the south side of the streets, but the north side was empty. Occasionally there would be troops patrolling. One street blocked the flow of people. On the opposite side of the street was a gate guarded by a large number of guards. No one dared to offend it. The North District was a paradise. Spiritual god stones paved the way, and countless spiritual substances were dancing like fairies. Divine and sacred medicines were in full bloom. It was definitely a holy land for cultivation. Yi Qinghan crossed the street and came to the gate. A big bearded man at the peak of the giant god's stage walked over with a cold expression. He said coldly, "Who are you? Do you have a warrant to see me?" "I am Yi Qinghan from the Black Sky County. I have come under the orders of the Fragrance Pavilion's pavilion master to meet the Lord Ninth Elder of the Yun family. Please inform him." Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand and sent 2 mystic rank spiritual god stones into the big man's hand quietly. Money makes the world go round. When the big man saw the mystic rank spiritual god stones, he immediately smiled. "Wait here. I will send someone to inform the Lord Elder." After the big man finished speaking, he turned back to the gate and said to a young cultivator, "Go and inform the Lord Ninth Elder that there is a young man outside who has come under the orders of the Fragrance Pavilion's pavilion master." That young man quickly left the gate and ran towards the inside. Yi Qinghan stood at the gate. From time to time, young men and women in brocade robes would walk out of the North District. Looking at their attire, they should not be guards, but direct descendants of the Yun family. Those young disciples looked at Yi Qinghan curiously. The rate of turning heads was 100%. The women were all stunned by his appearance and smiled at him. The men of the Yun family, however, had a trace of disdain and hostility. Yi Qinghan smiled at them. He did not want to complicate matters at this time. One would not slap a smiling face. Yi Qinghan's attitude was still considered good-natured. Therefore, even though this group of people had hostility, they did not flare up. Very quickly, a scholarly middle-aged man walked out of the city. His cultivation was slightly stronger than He Jundao. The spiritual essence on his body was very pure. It was pure ice attribute spiritual essence, unlike He Jundao's mixed spiritual essence. His appearance was very handsome, fair and clean. He looked more like a refined prince of an imperial family. Chapter 1175. Yi Qinghan immediately recognized Yun Zhonghai. Stepping forward, he bowed and said, "Yi Qinghan offers greetings, Elder Yun. Elder Sister Yao asked me to send her regards." "Come with me," Yun Zhonghai said in a cultured and refined manner. His magnetic voice was very pleasant to listen to. With that, Yun Zhonghai turned and entered the city north. Yi Qinghan followed closely behind. They arrived at a mountain peak, surrounded by mountains, rivers, spirit beasts, birds, and flowers. It was a magnificent sight to behold. At the foot of the mountain was a palace, enormous and filled with pavilions. Above the lake was a wooden raft, upon which sat a small bamboo hut. It was very exquisite. Looking at the decorations, Yi Qinghan stared at Yun Zhonghai's back. "This guy isn't simple," he murmured. "He's been keeping a low profile all this time, and hasn't revealed his true strength. However, his territory is magnificent, and his aura is majestic. 9 dragons surround him, and 100 birds pay homage to a phoenix. It's obvious that he's wildly ambitious." Yun Zhonghai stepped onto the bamboo raft. "Come with me," he said coolly. Smiling, Yi Qinghan followed him onto the raft. Yun Zhonghai waved his hand, causing the raft to drift toward the center of the lake. In that moment, he sensed that Yun Zhonghai didn't just have ice-type spirit quality fluctuations, but also water-type and wind-type spirit quality fluctuations. And they were extremely pure. The lake's surface was undulating, and the waves in the depths were surging violently. The momentum was terrifying, but the wooden raft was able to go against the current without the slightest tremor. They entered the bamboo house on the raft. The interior of the house was very simple. There was only a sword hanging on the wall, 2 chairs, a round table, a bed made of ice elemental spiritual stone, and a soft silk quilt. There was nothing else. As Yi Qinghan looked at Yun Zhonghai, he got the feeling that he was a natural fit for the lake. Every move he made was filled with an indescribable boldness and energy. Although he seemed to be a bit stronger than an ordinary magistrate, he was actually strong enough to crush an ordinary half-step paramount god. "Give me the keepsake," Yun Zhonghai said calmly. Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand and handed over a sealed pouch. There was something inside, but it was not opened. Yun Zhonghai took the pouch and gently squeezed it. The pouch split into 2 and a piece of paper appeared inside. "Your heart, your concubine's will, can only be bestowed by the heavens." Yun Zhonghai clenched his fists, and the paper in his hand turned into powder. He asked hoarsely, "Why did little Yao ask you to find me?" "Ninth Elder, this junior has killed the Black Sky County's county chief. She hopes that you can introduce me to third young master." Yi Qinghan bowed and said. Yun Zhonghai turned around and looked at Yi Qinghan. A strange smile appeared at the corner of his mouth as he whispered, "You actually have the ability to kill the head of a county. No wonder little Yao cherished talent and recommended you to me." Yi Qinghan was silent for a while, quietly waiting for Yun Zhonghai's answer. I understand. Tomorrow, I'll arrange for you to meet at the Fragrance Pavilion in the east of the city. When you return, give this pouch to little Yao." "Many thanks." Yun Zhonghai waved his hand and handed the pouch to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan took the pouch, then cupped his hands and bowed. "Many thanks, Lord Elder. This junior will definitely deliver this to Big Sister Yao." "Your goal isn't just to see that brat Yunqi, is it? If you just want the city lord to stop investigating the death of the prefectural governor, then all you have to do is tell me. I'll tell Yunqi." Yun Zhonghai's eyes were like torches, as if he could see through Yi Qinghan's heart. Yi Qinghan respectfully said, "Elder's eyes are as sharp as pearls. As expected, I can't hide anything from you. This junior wants to see the city lord and represent Cloud amongst clouds in the Snow Empire's God Realm Elite competition." Yun Zhonghai's eyes flashed. He frowned and said, "Do you know what the Elite competition is? It's a competition to select the Realm Army. The strongest will be chosen by the Realm Lord to become an outer disciple. Every participant will be a top existence in a city, and each city will have 10 spots. They will fight each other, and if you're not careful, you'll die. Do you have the confidence to participate in the elite competition?" "This junior is willing to do his best," Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. Yun Zhonghai was silent for a long time as he stared at Yi Qinghan. He then said in a hoarse voice, "If you want to participate, you don't have to go through the city lord. Wait until the day you follow me and appear as my disciple. Then you'll have the chance to act." Yi Qinghan's eyes lit up. He cupped his hands and said, "I beg for your guidance. I have a brother whose cultivation is not inferior to mine. I don't dare to say that he can become an outer disciple of the Realm Lord, but at least becoming a Realm Army soldier won't be a problem." "Alright. The next elite competition will be next spring. In 5 months' time, you will fight as my disciple. You will win glory, and I will win the recognition and resources of the Realm Lord. It's a win-win situation. I hope you won't disappoint me," Yun Zhonghai said in a low voice. When Yi Qinghan saw the ambition in Yun Zhonghai's eyes, he thought to himself, "There's definitely something going on between him and Big Sis Yao. There's definitely a grudge between him and the city lord. Otherwise, he wouldn't steal his brother's credit so brazenly. Then this junior will take his leave." Yi Qinghan bowed and said, "Alright, go." Yun Zhonghai didn't drive the wooden raft back. Instead, he stopped where he was, as if he wanted to see Yi Qinghan's cultivation. Everyone knew that one couldn't fly in the city. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly and walked out of the room. He walked on the water, and wherever he went, the water beneath his feet was as smooth as a mirror. 10 meters away, it looked like a water dragon that was about to soar into the sky. Yun Zhonghai narrowed his eyes and looked at Yi Qinghan's disappearing figure. He fell into deep thought. The water spirit is so pure. It's as if he was born with a water spirit body. No wonder he was so confident. Yun Zhonghai whispered to himself. Lord Yun Zhonghai, I'll take revenge next year for stealing my wife. Yun Zhonghai said hoarsely. The lake water began to surge and rush toward Yi Qinghan. However, when it got close to Yi Qinghan, the water automatically calmed down. It was like an obedient spirit that followed Yi Qinghan's will. Yi Qinghan's black hair fluttered in the wind. He suppressed the surging lake water and deliberately revealed part of his strength. He walked on the water but didn't touch a drop of water. Only when he reached the shore did he quickly leave. Returning the way he came, he actually ran into the famous Yun family's third young master. He really did have the qualifications to be a silk pant. His handsome face and embroidered divine robes indicated that he was definitely one of the top experts of the younger generation. His black hair draped over his shoulders, and he had 4 beautiful women by his side. His eyes looked disdainfully at Yi Qinghan, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. Who are you? Why are you in the northern part of the city? Yunqi asked coldly. This commoner Yi Qinghan greets the third young master. I am the chief of Black Sky County's Frost Demon stronghold. A few days ago, I accidentally killed the county chief. I'm here to ask for punishment. Yi Qinghan bowed. What? You killed that slut Black Sky County's county chief? Yunqi was stunned for a moment, and then he said happily, Ha ha, good good good. This lowly person ruined my plans and dared to steal my woman. He really doesn't know what's good for him. If he's killed, then he's killed. Leave this matter to me. I'll tell my father and spare your life. Thank you, third young master. Yi Qinghan pretended to be grateful and said repeatedly. Chapter 1176. Yi Qinghan was moved to tears. The biggest characteristic of a silk pants was that they were easily inflated. Once someone praised them, they would lose their sense of direction. Yi Kun was like this in the past. The more you praised him, the more arrogant he became. However, this kind of person was easy to deal with. As long as you catered to him, you could call him brother at any time. Third young master, I've long heard of your name. You're a famous genius of the Snow Empire's god realm. Seeing you today, it's true that your reputation is not as good as meeting you in person. Yi Qinghan cupped his fists and said, Ha ha ha, well said, well said. I don't have any good points, but I'm loyal. That bastard He Jundao has long since annoyed me. If I wasn't worried about the other governors saying that I'm a bully, I would have already killed him. Since you helped me, you're my brother. You're called Yi. Yi what? Yunqi grinned, his expression extremely wretched. His large hands hugged the 2 women, not caring that Yi Qinghan was in front of him. He reached out and groped them. Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan smiled and replied. Brother Yi, today I'm holding a celebration at the Fragrance Pavilion. Come with me later. I'll introduce you to the top geniuses of the various great clans in Cloud City. I guarantee that this trip won't be in vain. Yunqi didn't care whether Yi Qinghan agreed or not. He directly said to the women beside him in a domineering manner, You guys go back. I'm going to the Fragrance Pavilion. The women didn't dare to go against Yunqi's will and could only leave. Yi Qinghan looked at Yunqi as if he was looking at Yi Kun. However, he was even more scheming than Yi Kun. This person was definitely not a pure silk pant. Otherwise, his cultivation wouldn't be so powerful. Yi Kun was a pure silk pants. The current Yi Kun is comparable to him. Neither of them are easy to deal with. However, this third young master seems very easygoing. Once he gets angry, he won't stop until he kills someone. Yi Qinghan looked at Yunqi with a smile. However, He had seen through this person and was on guard. Let's go. Come with this young master to broaden your horizons. After Yunqi finished speaking, he unceremoniously put his arm around Yi Qinghan's shoulder and walked out of the northern part of the city. Along the way, they called each other brothers, causing the bystanders to be envious. Everyone knew that Yunqi wasn't someone that just anyone could climb up to. Yi Qinghan didn't push him away. In terms of debauchery, acting, if he said he was number 2, no one would dare to say they were number 1. As a result, he quickly got along well with Yunqi. Every word he said hit Yunqi's weak spot, and their relationship on the surface became better and better. The two of them chatted about everything under the sky, but not a single word of truth was spoken. They walked all the way out of the Yun family's inner city and arrived at the roadside. When the guards saw the two of them hugging each other, they couldn't help but be dumbfounded. How? Yi Qinghan naturally wouldn't steal his glory. He hastily said, "How can I be compared to third brother? I worked together with a friend to get rid of him. That guy preyed on living creatures. Black Sky County's commoners are poor and destitute. Once I return, I'll definitely spread the word that third young master sympathizes with the commoners. That's why he gave the order to kill that traitor." Yunqi smiled but didn't say anything. He really did admire Yi Qinghan. He was very smart, so he silently accepted the credit. The city lord had been in power for 1,000,000 years. He would naturally let others do it and then cultivate in peace. If the third young master wanted to become the city lord, he would naturally need the support of all the county governors and the majority of the commoners in the city. Yunqi wasn't the only one who was favored. There were at least 3 to 5 others who could compete with him for favor. Moreover, they were all slightly stronger than him. They all coveted the city lord's position because only by becoming the city lord would they have a chance to see the realm master. Only then would they have a chance to be recognized by the realm master and be nurtured by him. As the two of them walked, Yunqi contacted a few more descendants of prominent families. This could be considered a strong alliance, forming a small group. Yunqi wasn't the first to do this. There were quite a few who did this. Among them, the eldest son of the Yun family was the most powerful. The young master of Mount Monarch and the eldest son of the Yun family, Yun Zhang, were life and death brothers. They were the best candidates for the city lord's position. The second son, Yun Dong, was the brother of the young master of Sky Dragon's stronghold, Long Jinghu. Moreover, he was preparing to marry Long Jinghu's sister. Sky Dragon's stronghold was bound to push Yun Dong to become the city lord. The battle for the city lord's position was imminent. In 3 years, Yun Zhongjuan would abdicate. After he abdicated, in order to balance the power of the commoners, he would definitely choose the son with the most supporters to become the city lord, not the one he favored the most. Yi Qinghan was naturally aware of this. After all, Sister Yao had her own goals. It was impossible for her to not have any information. Moreover, that Yun Zhonghai wasn't someone easy to deal with. However, Yi Qinghan wasn't interested in supporting a city lord. He only wanted to go to the Great Wasteland domain. The city lord's position would only be determined in 3 years. He wasn't willing to wait. Unless absolutely necessary, he absolutely wouldn't participate in the battle for the city lord's position. The two of them walked all the way to the Fragrance Pavilion in the east of the city. It was 100 times larger than the one outside of Black Sky County. The stunning beauties inside were like carps crossing the river, charming to the bone. However, just as they reached the entrance, Yunqi ran into people he didn't want to meet. The eldest son of the Yun family, Yun Zhang, and the young master of Mount Monarch, Di Feizuan. Di Feizuan and Yun Zhang stared at Yi Qinghan at the same time. Their eyes were filled with disdain, hostility, and killing intent. It was clear that they didn't understand Yi Qinghan, but they didn't want Yunqi to have another helper. Third brother, which noble family is this fellow Taoist from? Why don't you introduce him to your big brother? Yun Zhang restrained his hostility and asked calmly. Big brother is actually interested in my matters? Can't you see how close I am to him? He is clearly one of my people. Yun Qi smiled wickedly. His voice was extremely charming. His large hand patted Yi Qinghan's, but like a man declaring his sovereignty over a woman. Yi Qinghan's hair stood on end. His entire body shook. A wave of energy appeared behind him and blocked Yun Qi's large hand. However, this fellow didn't give up. Following the wave of energy, he actually grabbed Yi Qinghan's waist. Yi Qinghan's entire body stiffened. His body moved to the side, wanting to avoid Yun Qi's hand. However, this fellow was too shameless. He didn't feel embarrassed at all. Instead, he used all his strength to rub it. Oh, third brother, when did you start liking men? However, he is indeed very handsome. However, he is not suitable to be your woman. He is more suitable to be your man. Yun Zhang disdainfully mocking Yun Qi for being a woman. Di Feizuan frowned and coldly said, "Let's go in." After speaking, the two of them entered the fragrance pavilion without looking back. Yi Qinghan felt a wave of disgust. He hurriedly broke free from Yun Qi's large hand. A sinister chill appeared in his eyes as his tyrannical aura spread out in all directions. Yun Qi jumped in fright and retreated a few steps. Looking into Yi Qinghan's eyes, he hurriedly smiled and said, "I just wanted to discuss the two of them. Old brother, don't be nervous. You disgust me. I am a very traditional man. I am very single-minded and only like beautiful women. I don't like men touching me." Yi Qinghan coldly said, "Ha, I know. Don't worry, I am even more single-minded than you. I only like young beauties." Yun Qi shamelessly replied. Yi Qinghan, "Ha ha ha, let me tell you. Actually, Yun Zhang and Di Feizuan are the real perverts. I heard that the two of them once slept on the same bed and did some very intense exercise. That is why I wanted to discuss them." Yun Qi once again laughed sinisterly. Yi Qinghan felt goosebumps all over his body. He frowned and said, "Don't disgust me. I am very normal." Only then did Yun Qi tactfully shut his mouth. He no longer talked about this matter and led Yi Qinghan into the fragrance pavilion. The pavilion was filled with beautiful women. There were even some beautiful women from aristocratic families who dressed up as men to seek pleasure. Although they hid it very well, Yi Qinghan felt an indescribable pain in his heart when he saw this scene. He suddenly thought of Bai Shaosheng. Recommended through all channels. Today's outbreak. I hope that everyone can subscribe to Genesis Chinese Network or QQ. Daodu will be eternally grateful. The greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. I tried to update, but there were only a few who supported subscriptions. Chapter 1177. Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly as he looked at the cross-dressing female cultivator, who thought that no one would be able to see through her disguise. The decoration of the fragrance pavilion was almost the same as Sister Yao's fragrance pavilion. However, there were 6 floors in total. The floors below the 4th floor had no rooms, only a hall. The tables were filled with rich guests, adventurers, and young masters. Above the 5th floor, one couldn't go up just because they had money. Instead, one needed a noble status and powerful strength. On the 4th floor, Yun Zhang and Yun Dong were both present. They each had a table, one in the east and one in the west, facing each other from a distance. The enmity between them was quite deep. The struggle for power between brothers was even crueler than the feud between 2 sections. Ha ha, so they're both here. Interesting. Yun Qi laughed coldly and walked towards the hall. "Third young master, we're honored by your presence. May I know which floor you chose?" A beautiful young woman walked over, swaying her hips. How could a man not be moved? It was no wonder that this place was always packed with people and carriages. Fourth floor, the table near the corridor in the north. Yun Qi's lips curled up. Yi Qinghan narrowed his eyes and looked around. His gaze landed on the fourth floor. There was a person at Yun Dong's table that attracted his attention. It was a very heroic-looking cross-dressing female. Her clothes were almost the same as Bai Xiaoxing's. Her appearance, dress, and temperament were 80% similar. What a coincidence! Yi Qinghan muttered inwardly. However, he knew that she wasn't Bai Xiaoxing. The world was so big that nothing was too strange. It was just a coincidence. Tap tap tap, Yi Qinghan and Yun Qi walked up to the fourth floor. They were only 20 meters away from Yun Zhang and Yun Dong's table. Their table was filled with young men and women from the top forces of Cloud amongst City. Their cultivations were all Peak Kings. They were all facing each other with deep enmity. A faint killing intent spread out. No one on the fourth floor was willing to get close to the fight between the three brothers. Yi Qinghan slowly sat down. His gaze never left the cross-dressing female. What? You're interested in her? She's Long Jinghu's younger sister and Yun Dong's fiancée, Long Shirshir. Yun Qi noticed Yi Qinghan's gaze and reminded him in a low voice, Yun Dong loves her very much, but Long Shirshir doesn't seem to be interested in her. They seem to be together on the surface, but at heart they're divided. If you want to snatch her away, I'm afraid you'll have to fight Yun Dong to the death. There was no emotion or desire in Yi Qinghan's deep eyes. He just watched calmly and silently shook his head. Yun Dong also stared at Yi Qinghan. A trace of anger and killing intent flashed in his eyes. He snorted coldly, alarming the 7 or 8 people at his table. They all looked up and stared at Yi Qinghan. Long Shirshir's black hair draped over her shoulders. She picked up a cup of tea and took a sip. The cup covered half of her peerless face. Her bright eyes looked at Yi Qinghan and she was deeply attracted by his eyes. Those eyes seemed to have an incomparable magic that made people unable to look away. 4 pairs of eyes looked at each other, flickering with a strange fluctuation. Yi Qinghan's vigorous face revealed a faint smile. He nodded at Long Shirshir. That smile caused the entire fourth floor to fall into a deathly silence. Long Shirshir also returned a smile, but it was covered by her hands. However, the gentleness in her eyes could not be concealed. Bang! Yun Dong slapped the table and coldly looked at Long Shirshir. He then turned to Yi Qinghan, the killing intent in his eyes growing stronger. The eldest Yun Zhang laughed. He was unscrupulous and directly and brazenly sowed discord. He instigated, "Second brother, your woman is about to be taken away by someone else. Could it be that you only know how to slam the table?" The 9 people at Yun Zhang's table roared with laughter. They deliberately instigated the relationship between Yun Dong and Yi Qinghan. They couldn't wait to fight on the spot. The killing intent on the fourth floor had already begun to spread. Yun Qi also didn't think that Yi Qinghan would stare at Yun Dong's woman so unscrupulously. Now that he had given up on Yi Qinghan, wouldn't that make others laugh their heads off? It's just a glance. Eldest brother, aren't you deliberately instigating and trying to take advantage of the situation? Yun Qi indifferently said. Yun Dong couldn't stand it. The woman he loved the most didn't love him and even looked at someone else without restraint. Even if it was instigation, he still had to show his imposing manner. However, Long Jinghu, who was sitting between Yun Dong and Long Shirshir, pressed down on Yun Dong's wrist. He lightly shook his head and whispered, "Don't be blinded by Yun Zhang's instigation. The cultivation of the man beside Yun Qi is very high. Moreover, there is no desire in his eyes when he looks at Long Shirshir. You don't need to offend him and let Yun Zhang take advantage." Long Jinghu looked very domineering, but in reality, he was very meticulous and calm. His eyes were very unique. Just from Yi Qinghan's temperament and sitting posture, he could infer that his strength was very terrifying. It was clear that he wasn't easy to deal with. Yi Qinghan slowly withdrew his gaze and looked out the window. Half of his face was emotionless. It was impossible to know what he was thinking. So it turns out that you have evil intentions but no gut. Others only snorted and you don't dare to look anymore. Tsk. Yun Zhang disdainfully mocked. Yi Qinghan coldly glanced at Yun Zhang. Looking at his shifty-eyed appearance, he knew that this person liked to use underhanded methods and instigate relationships so that he could reap the benefits of others. He was definitely a treacherous person. Di Feizuan coldly stared at Yi Qinghan as if he wanted to see through his soul. However, very quickly, two enchanting women came from the fourth floor and went straight to Yi Qinghan's table. "Third young master, the same old rules?" one of the women charmingly asked. "The same old wine and dishes," Yun Qi indifferently said. "Brother Yi, do you need a woman?" Yi Qinghan shook his head and calmly said, "I don't need one. You can do as you please." "Very well, 7 stars. The same old rules. I'm a rather nostalgic person," Yun Qi said to the two women. Very quickly, one of the women walked down while the other sat on Yun Qi's lap. They were very casual and not shy at all. It was very clear that they were old lovers. Soon after, 7 more people appeared on the fourth floor. All of them were handsome and elegant. One of them was a woman dressed as a man. She was tall and slender, but her twin peaks could be easily distinguished at a glance. "Come, let me introduce you. This is Black Sky County's Yi Qinghan. Brother Yi, he helped me get rid of that bastard He Jundao. I'm in a very good mood, so I'll give you guys a star. Today, we'll drink until we're drunk," Yun Qi loudly said. Yi Qinghan stood up and nodded to everyone. "I'm Dongfang Haojuan and this is my sister Dongfang Su. Greetings, Brother Yi." A handsome young man nodded and said, "I'm Su Jing. Greetings, Brother Yi. I'm Liang Feng." Very quickly, everyone introduced themselves. Everyone was arrogant, but in this situation, no one had the right to be arrogant. Either they had a prominent status or they had outstanding strength. It was not worth offending anyone. "Don't be so polite. We're all brothers." Yun Qi gestured for everyone to sit down. Yi Qinghan looked at everyone and saw that Yun Qi's table was similar to the other 2 tables. However, there was a slight difference and there were fewer people. The family background of these young geniuses was much weaker than Monarch Mountain and Heavenly Dragon's stronghold. There was almost no hope for them to snatch the city lord's position. "Third brother, let's go to the Great Wasteland Domain some other day. I wonder if you've improved? Do you dare to accept this challenge?" Yun Dong coldly said. "There's only 1 more month before the Great Wasteland Domain opens. Time really flies. We compete every year and this year will not be an exception. I hope third brother won't lose too badly this time." Yun Zhang disdainfully sneered. Yun Qi was favored the most by the city lord. All the first and second brothers especially hated him and tacitly suppressed him. Chapter 1178. Yi Qinghan's eyes suddenly lit up. He was just worrying about how to enter the Great Wasteland Domain when these 3 princes challenged him to a battle. This was truly a heaven-sent opportunity. When the battle was mentioned, Yun Qi's face turned ashen. It seemed that he had lost many times in the past. Before it was Yun Qi's turn to refuse, Yun Zhang and Yun Dong on the opposite side both spoke out with cold eyes and scorching ridicule, not giving Yun Qi a chance to refuse. "Just accept it. My friend and I will help you fight. We definitely won't let you lose," Yi Qinghan said firmly. Yun Qi naturally wanted to turn the tables. He had lost miserably in the past, and several of his core members had been crippled. They were still recuperating. Now, there were not many who could fight. The gap between him and Yun Zhang and Yun Dong was huge. Yun Qi looked at Yi Qinghan's calm face and bitterly smiled. "It's not that I'm looking down on you, but these bastards are too strong. Especially Long Zhenghu and Di Feizuan. Even I don't have the confidence to win, let alone the others. At most, I can deal with Yun Zhang or Yun Qi. Forget it. Leave Di Feizuan and Long Jinghu to me and my brother. Don't worry, they won't have a second chance to fight. Yi Qinghan was incomparably strong. He hoped that Yun Qi would enter the Great Wasteland domain and accept the challenge. Are you serious? Yun Qi frowned and asked suspiciously. These two people's cultivation is even stronger than that He Jundao. The two of you had to work together to kill He Jundao. Can you beat Di Feizuan or Long Zhenghu by yourselves? Killing and fighting are two different things. If we don't work together, He Jundao can escape at any time. But fighting is different. Once he escapes, it's equivalent to losing. Yi Qinghan acted as if nothing had happened. If Di Feizuan, Long Jinghu, and Long Jinghu were stronger than He Jundao, he would not be their match without using the Great Wasteland Dao scripture. But in order to enter the Great Wasteland domain, he had to trick Yun Qi into accepting the challenge. The two factions on the fourth floor mocked Yun Qi. But Yun Qi was a treacherous person. If not for Yi Qinghan's confidence in dealing with Di Feizuan and Long Jinghu, he would not have accepted the challenge even if he had to throw away his face. What? Third brother, you don't have the guts now? I don't have to do anything. If you don't have the guts, then stop daydreaming. Boss Yun Zhang said disdainfully. That's right, third brother. You can enter the fragrance pavilion and sleep with the women there, but if you want to meddle in the affairs of the city, I think you should forget about it. Yun Dong followed up with a sneer. The mischievous people in the city are definitely the best at playing with women. We don't dare to compete with them. This Dongfang family is full of talents. They actually brought their younger sister here to pick up girls and sleep with women. What a weirdo. The people at Yun Zhang and Yun Dong's table all mocked them, causing Dongfang Haojuan and Yun Qi's faces to turn ashen. Dongfang Ling's eyebrows rose and fell as he glared at the two teams beside Yun Zhang and Yun Dong. He angrily rebuked, If Long Shirshir can enter, why can't I? My brother is a weirdo. Could it be that Long Zheng and Hu are weirdos too? How can it be the same? Your brother didn't come here just to eat meat and drink wine, but to sleep with women. Look at your table, which one of them doesn't have a woman in their arms? A young man beside Long Zheng and Hu mocked. Open your dog eyes and take a good look. Can't you see that there's no woman in Yi Qinghan's arms? Are you blind? I'm here to get to know fellow Yi. Dongfang Ling angrily said. Dongfang Haojuan's eyes flashed coldly as he stared at that young man. He hoarsely said, Qing Tong, don't tell me that you've never come here to sleep with women? What are you pretending to be virtuous for? If you want to fight, I'll accompany you anytime. Don't act like a dog, it makes me sick. Boom. A group of people suddenly stood up and opposed each other. Especially Dongfang Haojuan, Liang Feng, and the others beside Yi Qinghan. Their auras all exploded as they stared at Qing Tong. Yi Qinghan saw that the three sides were fighting and indifferently said, It's just a competition. Brother Yun doesn't want to accept because he's afraid of hurting the harmony between his brothers and slapping the faces of his two brothers. Since the two young masters and their guests are so aggressive, just accept it. It's still not clear who will win or lose. This sentence caused the atmosphere to become even more violent. The spiritual fluctuations in the air were abnormally obvious. This is the Sweet Fragrance Pavilion, the property of the Yun family. The three young masters can't destroy their own property. It's not worth it to anger the city lord. A mature woman appeared on the fourth floor. Compared to Sister Yao, she was even more charming and seductive. Moreover, her power wasn't small and was enough to control the entire situation. Sister Yao couldn't compare to her. A simple sentence made the three young masters, Dongfang Haojuan, and the others immediately put down their banners and stopped fighting. Yes, Mistress 13. We were just joking. We definitely won't fight here. Yun Zhang and the others quickly replied. Mistress 13 coldly glanced at Yi Qinghan. With a cold snort, she quietly disappeared from the fourth floor. Spatial spiritual quality. This Mistress 13 actually had a rare spatial spiritual quality. She could control space at will, teleport, and injure people without them noticing. In addition, she was doted on by the City Lord, which was why she was able to take charge of the Sweet Fragrance Pavilion in Cloud City. Even Sister Yao was under her control. No wonder the three mischievous young masters were so afraid of her. Yi Qinghan's body tensed up. He felt as if that glance had cut through his defenses and directly pierced his soul. This person is so strong, Yi Qinghan secretly said. Yunqi was riding a tiger and couldn't get off. Yi Qinghan had already strongly agreed to Yun Zhang and Yun Dong's provocation. If he overturned it, not only would he lose face, he would also lose his momentum. It would make Dongfang Haozhuan and the others feel that they were inferior. Yun Zhang and Yun Qi were infuriated by Yi Qinghan's arrogant attitude. They didn't give Yi Qinghan and Yun Qi the slightest chance to mediate. Instead, they said coldly, "If that's the case, then I'd really like to see just how strong Third Brother's new guest is." Yi Qinghan snorted and coldly said, "I'll accompany you at any time." Two older brothers bullying a younger brother, I don't think their cultivations are that high. Ha ha ha, Brother Ye's words really hit home. Come, let's drink. I really don't have anything to say to this kind of person. Yun Qi's expression finally became better. He found that Yi Qinghan's words always hit home. Yun Dong was just about to explode when he was stopped by Long Jinghu. This person has other motives. He definitely isn't helping Yun Qi. I suspect that he wants to enter the Great Wasteland domain but doesn't have a written order. That's why he took the initiative to help Yun Qi. Long Jinghu said in a low voice. This Long Jinghu was truly powerful. His words always hit home and hit home with Yi Qinghan's heart. Yun Dong was already confused by his anger. He couldn't see Yi Qinghan's heart, but the treacherous Yun Zhang could see that Yi Qinghan's heart wasn't in the bet, but in the Great Wasteland domain. Di Feizuan also felt that there was something wrong with Yi Qinghan, but he couldn't find any evidence. However, since Yi Qinghan didn't sincerely want to help Yun Qi, he naturally wouldn't say anything. Yi Qinghan felt a few special gazes. He only faintly smiled and said, "Brother Yun, don't mind it. It's just a competition between brothers. If you lose, no one will say anything. Only by repeatedly losing can you gain experience. Moreover, you may not necessarily lose this time." Chapter 1179. The Great Wasteland Domain was located in the east of the Snow Empire's Divine Realm. The Primal Chaos Domain was just a small corner of the Great Wasteland Domain. It was almost completely surrounded by the Great Wasteland Domain. Although it was very small, it was very complete. The Snow Empire's Divine Realm was the closest world to the Great Wasteland Domain. Back then, the Snow Empire's Divine Realm naturally had a part in the encirclement of the Great Wasteland Domain. The Realm Lord also took action. Therefore, the most powerful Great Wasteland Domain was annihilated. All living things were annihilated. The great Tao of reincarnation was suppressed. Billions of souls could not be appealed to and could only struggle in the depths of hell. The energy of all living things was conserved. Although all living things in the Great Wasteland Domain died, their energy did not dissipate. The hell of reincarnation was suppressed and could not reincarnate. Those dead souls could not be released in the hell of reincarnation. The resentment in the Great Wasteland Domain was very heavy. Only the Realm Lords knew about this. Therefore, if one wanted to enter the Great Wasteland Domain, one must be a trustworthy Supreme God or a member of the Realm Lord's family. The Great Wasteland Domain was extremely dangerous. Everything in the Great Wasteland Domain was desolate, and people could be killed invisibly. The Great Wasteland Domain was boundless, and the power of desolates permeated the air like a surging sea. In order to eliminate the influence of the power of desolates on the Realm Lords, the 7 Realm Lords had joined forces to imprison the Great Wasteland Domain. The power within the Great Wasteland Domain would not rush out of the Great Wasteland Domain and affect the judgment of the Realm Lords. Yi Qinghan strongly hoped that Yun Qi would agree to the competition between Yun Zhang and Yun Qi. He did not even hesitate to be high-profile and confront the geniuses of both sides. Since Brother Yi is so confident, then let's agree, Yun Qi said firmly. To Yun Qi, he had already lost so many times. One more time did not matter. Yi Qinghan was very excited. He looked forward to the Great Wasteland Domain. It was as if that was his route. The Lord of Desolation, the battle of gods in the Chaos Realm, his identity, and the passage to the Chaos Realm seemed to have something to do with the Great Desolation Realm. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists, looking forward to this trip to the Great Desolation Realm. Yi Qinghan sank into contemplation, but the others did not. Long Shirshir kept staring at him. Half of her face was covered by the cup. Her round eyes were bright and full of curiosity. After the meal, Yi Qinghan left the fragrance pavilion early. After bidding farewell to Yun Qi, he went to look for Emoli. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice, "Everything is ready. Now, all we need to do is to enter the Great Wasteland Domain. There's no need for us to meet the Realm Lord, nor do we need to wait for the Realm Lord's written order. We've saved a year's time. Now, let's return to the Black Sky County. Although we're leaving, it won't stop us from establishing a small force there and nurturing some talents." Emoli's face was expressionless as he silently followed them from a short distance away, leaving the city amongst the clouds. Once the two of them left the city amongst the clouds, they traveled as fast as lightning, and they were like 2 sharp swords that pierced the sky. The two of them arrived at the entrance at almost the same time. When the entrance opened, they looked at each other and smiled indifferently. Black Sky County, Fragrance Pavilion. Sister Yao was extremely conflicted. She wanted to escape but was unable to do so. Yi Qinghan was like a piece of sticky candy. Once entangled, there was no way to get rid of him. This Yi Qinghan has an unknown background and a powerful cultivation. Could he really be from the Realm Army? Deserter? Retired Realm Army? Sister Yao thought to herself, but she did not think so. The Realm Army had a high status. Many people would break their heads trying to get in. No one would desert. If he was a retired Realm Army, then naturally, no one would dare to chase after him. The Realm Army was the face of the Snow Empire's God Realm. Once he retired, the Realm Lord would personally arrange a position for him. At the very least, he would be given the position of county governor. How could he be like Yi Qinghan and Emoli? It can't be the Realm Army. Then who were the two of them? They are ambitious and courageous. They killed a county governor and attracted such a terrifying existence. Their souls patrolled half of the country. They are definitely peak paramount god existences. Sister Yao could not figure it out. She shook her head fiercely and looked at the scenery outside the window. She was not in the mood to appreciate it at all. No one would dare to provoke someone like Yi Qinghan. Unfortunately, Sister Yao had already provoked him. It was too late to regret now. At this moment, Sister Yao felt someone behind her. She quickly turned around. Who else could it be but Yi Qinghan? Yi Qinghan had a strange smile on his face that made people shudder. "You're back. How did it go?" Sister Yao frowned. "Perfect. I don't need to participate in the elite competition or go through Yunzhonghai. I can enter the Great Wasteland Domain in a few days." Yi Qinghan looked straight at Sister Yao. "Congratulations." Sister Yao pretended to be relaxed and smiled. Yi Qinghan looked at Sister Yao's formal appearance, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. He took out a pouch and said calmly, "This is the pouch Yunzhonghai gave you." Sister Yao was stunned. She reached out and took it but did not open it. It seems you two really do have some sort of relationship, Yi Qinghan said calmly. A femme fatale. Two half-step over gods are fighting over her. Shouldn't a rookie like me step aside? It's good that you know. The consequences of interfering in their business are very serious, Sister Yao said coldly. The atmosphere in the room was strange. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and locked the door. He walked over to Sister Yao and looked down at her with a sinister smile. I'm a despicable person. The more difficult something is, the more I like to do it. The more dangerous and exciting it is, the more motivated I am. Sister Yao was a little impatient. She frowned and looked at Yi Qinghan's cruel expression. She wanted to say something but stopped. She did not know what to say. I like women like you who can't be conquered. You're very challenging, Yi Qinghan said calmly. I have a man I like, Yun Zhonghai. We used to be lovers and we still are. At first, I thought you were just a capable young man. Who would have thought? Sister Yao sighed helplessly. Who would have thought that not only am I capable, but I'm also ambitious? Is your enemy stronger? Yi Qinghan asked coldly. Yes. Sister Yao nodded expressionlessly. Yi Qinghan was silent for a moment. Then he said hoarsely, If I want you to help me build the Frost Demon stronghold, train top experts and serve me, give up Yun Zhonghai and support me with all your secret forces, will you agree? Sister Yao's patience ran out. She looked at Yi Qinghan impatiently and said coldly, Don't push your luck. I won't put my fate on someone as dangerous as you. Yi Qinghan smiled. He turned his back to Sister Yao and stopped pestering her. Sister Yao was stunned. She did not expect Yi Qinghan to give up pestering her. She felt an inexplicable sense of loss. I came back this time because I want you to take over Black Sky County. And Jiulong and Yi Qinghan are brainless and not suitable to be the county governor. The others don't have the strength. Only you have the ability. Since you don't want to cooperate, I'll give Black Sky County to you. Yi Qinghan thought for a long time and said in a low voice, I hope you can take care of the Frost Demon stronghold. I need it to grow. I didn't expect you to take advantage of me. Sister Yao snorted. Chapter 1180. After a night of intense fighting, Yi Qinghan left with a loud laugh, showing his arrogance. Sister Yao stood at the top of the fragrant pavilion, looking at Yi Qinghan's departure. Her eyes were blurred, and her black hair fluttered in the wind. Her long skirt fluttered, and her slender legs stood proudly. Emily was already waiting for them outside the Black Sky County's domain gate. The two of them gathered, opened the domain gate, and rushed out of Cloud City. One day later, Yi Qinghan and Emily appeared in Cloud City. Snow Country, Divine World, and other major cities were preparing to enter the Great Wasteland Domain. Every 100 years, the Great Wasteland Domain would be closed for a period of time. Otherwise, the gloomy aura in the Great Wasteland Domain would affect the minds of the elite. Therefore, the opening day was the busiest day for all the major worlds. Not only Snow Countries and Divine Worlds experts would enter the Great Wasteland Domain to train. Void Domain, Ultimate Martial Domain, Great Wasteland Domain, Snow Countries Divine World, True Spirit Domain, Supreme Domain, Divine Martial Domain, Six Beast Domain, and the Primal Chaos Domain that was looked down upon by the other 8 domains. It just so happened that the Primal Chaos Domain was not qualified to participate. Back then, the Great Wasteland Domain was a maverick and was the strongest. The Lord of Desolation's strength surpassed the other 7 domain lords. In the end, he was besieged. He was not even accused of besieging the Great Wasteland Domain. It was as if someone had tacitly agreed to it. He forced his way into the Great Wasteland Domain and destroyed it. As for why they besieged the Great Wasteland Domain, only the 7 domain lords knew. However, the Lord of Desolation's strength was indeed extraordinary. He almost destroyed the souls of the 7 domain lords. Other than the domain lords of Snow Country and Divine World, the others had been hiding for countless eras. Yi Qinghan was very excited. He wanted to enter the Great Wasteland domain to investigate and uncover the history of the past. Every major city had a domain gate that led directly to the Great Wasteland domain. Some of the weaker city lords had personally gone to the Great Wasteland domain to train and strive to become supreme gods. Yun Zhongjuan did not appear, which relieved some of Yi Qinghan's pressure. Facing an existence close to Supreme God would obviously be pressured and afraid of exposing his identity. However, Yun Zhonghai appeared. He looked at Yi Qinghan from afar and did not go up to greet him. He only nodded to himself and then turned to look elsewhere. Yun Qi gave a simple introduction, explaining the division of forces in Cloud City so that Yi Qinghan could have a general understanding. At least 200 experts appeared in front of the domain gate. This was only the forces of the city amongst the clouds. Powerful birds and countless gloomy creatures were shuttling back and forth. Even the enchantment could not block the austere aura. Rich power of desolates was surging within the great wasteland domain like waves. The creatures here all had some power of desolates and were exceptionally powerful. They could tear apart mountains and rocks, move mountains and fill seas. It was definitely extremely dangerous. The desolate divine herbs that had survived for countless years were about to wither. However, no one cared about them because the Realm Lord did not allow anyone to bring the desolate divine herbs out. He did not allow anyone to cultivate the power of desolate. Whoever dared to disobey would have their entire sect exterminated. No one dared to go against the Realm Lord's will. Therefore, the geniuses and elites who entered the Great Wasteland domain would hunt for desolate divine beasts. Divine beasts were everywhere here. They did not have any natural enemies like humans. They absorbed the essence of heaven and earth and devoured divine herbs. Other than the fact that there was no Realm Lord, the Great Wasteland domain was no worse than the Great Wasteland domain during its peak. Therefore, this place was the best place to nurture geniuses. Outside the enchantment, there were many young geniuses. Handsome men and beautiful women gathered in groups of 3 or 5. They were all here in groups. They looked down on all living things and laughed arrogantly. They were especially hostile to the creatures of the outside world. 6 supreme gods stood proudly at the forefront. They were obviously the Tao protectors chosen by the various realms. They did not wish for the elites of their realms to be annihilated. The general trend of the world was invisibly controlled by the Supreme God. Their imposing backs were like a ravine that could not be crossed. Shua, Yi Qinghan and the others appeared at the entrance of the enchantment. Looking at the sea of people, there were at least 100,000 people. There were at least 20,000 experts from each realm who wanted to enter the Great Wasteland domain. They felt an inexplicable anger in their hearts. It was as if their private forbidden land had been trampled on. Looking at the Great Wasteland domain through the enchantment, Yi Qinghan's heart was in turmoil. His surging emotions were unable to calm down. His mind was in a mess. He seemed to have thought of something, but he was unable to grasp the main point. Everyone was still waiting. Tomorrow was the day they would enter the Great Wasteland domain. Yun Qi pulled the absent-minded Yi Qinghan and whispered, "Let's set up camp first. This place is very dangerous. Before entering, we must maintain our peak condition. If we encounter any creatures from the outside world, we must be careful. Especially those bastards from the non-traveler realm. They are very easy to kill." Yi Qinghan swept his gaze over the crowd. He discovered a large open space that no one was willing to approach. However, he could feel some energy fluctuations there. He had encountered creatures from the non-traveler realm before and was quite sensitive. He knew that this was where the creatures from the non-traveler realm were stationed. Chapter 1181. Everyone had their own considerations. Yi Qinghan, on the other hand, had his own concerns. Looking at the surging power of desolates in the Great Wasteland domain, he actually lost control of the Great Wasteland monument in his body. The blood in his body also flowed faster. It was as if there were tens of thousands of insects crawling under his flesh and blood. Mo Li, wait until I enter the Great Wasteland domain. If you lose control, suppress me immediately. Yi Qinghan's ancient voice was somewhat hoarse. Even his voice had changed. Mo Li looked at Yi Qinghan's serious expression and was somewhat worried that he would lose control in the Great Wasteland domain. Once he lost control, he would definitely stir up the power of Desolate. At that time, the Realm Lord would not even need to do anything. Those supreme gods would be able to crush him into pieces. Even with the Great Wasteland monument, he would not be able to escape death. Are you sure you want to take the risk? Once you lose control, you won't have a chance. Perhaps Mo Li sympathized with Yi Qinghan and reminded him in a low voice. Yi Qinghan was silent for a while and said in a hoarse voice, I will have to face it sooner or later. This matter cannot be avoided. I can only face it head-on and accept the test. Good luck. If you are in danger, I will not save you. Mo Li said in a muffled voice. Yi Qinghan nodded. He took out an image stone and said in a hoarse voice, If I die in the Great Wasteland domain, give this image stone to Emperor Yi and Wentian. They will understand. Mo Li grabbed the image stone and directly put it into his universe ring. After that, he maintained a certain distance from Yi Qinghan. Night fell. Yi Qinghan restrained his aura and tried his best to regulate his breathing to calm himself down. He secretly told himself that no matter what he recalled in the Great Wasteland domain, he could not lose control. He was Yi Qinghan, and the Desolate's master was not him. He had only inherited the Desolate's master's inheritance. The hatred was not his, and there was no need to go crazy over the hatred from back then. After a night of silence, no one did anything out of control. Everyone was at peace. Only the people from the Endless Realm were floating around. Although they could not be seen, the energy fluctuations they gave off could still be felt. 2 occasions when the people from the Endless Realm wandered around Yi Qinghan's place, they were discovered by him. The next day, Yi Qinghan woke up from his meditation, feeling refreshed. He exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and found that everyone was ready. Long Shirshir sighed. She was looking at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan did not look at him. Instead, he looked at the world inside the Great Wasteland domain and constantly reminded himself not to lose control. At this moment, the 6 supreme gods and the ethereal supreme god from the formless world joined forces to tear apart the barrier. The power of Desolates was about to spill out, but it was stopped by the supreme gods. The training will last for 100 years. After 100 years, the entrance will be completely closed. It will only open again after 10 years. If you stay in the Great Wasteland domain, you will die without a doubt. Take care of yourselves. An old man with a sage-like demeanor turned to the overlords of the Snow Country and the Divine World and said, We will follow your advice. The experts of the various cities cupped their fists and replied. Yi Qinghan cupped his fists and whispered. He looked around and found that many young experts were close to the Overgod realm. However, it was not possible to become a Overgod in a short period of time. 90% of the experts would be stuck at the half-step Overgod realm for their entire life. Therefore, there were not many Overgods in the Snow Country and many city lords were still half-step Overgod. Everyone stepped into the Great Wasteland domain. The experts took the lead and rushed into the depths of the Great Wasteland domain. The power of Desolates swept up the wind and clouds, and the creatures of the Great Wasteland domain fled into the depths of the Great Wasteland domain. However, there were also some terrifying creatures that used the power of Desolates to suppress the expert. Boom! Yi Qinghan stepped into the Great Wasteland domain. A violent storm swept up his black hair and saint robes. His head felt like it was about to explode as a large amount of bloody memories rushed into the depths of his sea of consciousness. Hua! Yi Qinghan's aura suddenly increased. A desolate aura pierced through the void from his back and rushed into the clouds. I need to calm down. This is not my problem. Yi Qinghan looked at the memory fragments in his sea of consciousness. Countless creatures were slaughtered. It was 1,000,000 times more tragic than Owl War Star. How many people were there in Owl War Star? The number of deaths in the Great Wasteland domain was immeasurable. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Yi Qinghan increased his speed. He wanted to leave this place and get away from these people. He did not want to expose himself. However, there were many people who were staring at his back. This was especially true for Yunzhang and Yundong. Their gazes never left his back. The moment Yi Qinghan stepped into the Great Wasteland domain, they felt that his back had undergone a qualitative change. That desolate and vicissitude aura made their noses sour and their eyes turn red. It was as if Yi Qinghan had experienced the most despairing thing in the world. Long Shursher's gaze had never left Yi Qinghan's back. At this moment she was stunned by the sudden change. Seeing that Yi Qinghan was about to leave, Yunqi wanted to extend his hand to stop him. However, he was stopped by Emoli in advance. Young Master Yun, don't be anxious. Let's stall for time. He will come back, Emoli said firmly. Where is he going? Yunqi asked angrily. He felt that he had been deceived. He has something to deal with first. When he comes back, he will give you an explanation. If he wants to leave, he won't leave me behind, Emoli reminded in a low voice. Just at this moment, Long Shursher quietly changed her direction and chased after Yi Qinghan's back. The desolate clouds rolled over and over. They were like waves that could be touched with one's hand. The extremely low clouds suppressed everyone. The gloomy cold air accompanied by baleful aura attacked everyone's soul. Anyone who came here for the first time would be frightened. This had nothing to do with willpower or Tao heart. It was just that this place was too frightening. It was even more frightening than hell. Yi Qinghan's clothes fluttered in the wind. The cold wind washed away the madness, leaving behind a heart full of vicissitudes. His face was ferocious and the tears in his eyes couldn't be stopped. The memories in his sea of consciousness began to roll over. One after another, experts rushed into the Great Wasteland domain and massacred all living things. 7 realm lords besieged one person. This scene was familiar. It looked a bit like the scene on Owl War Star. However, the degree of devastation was incomparable. An entire world, the Great Wasteland domain, the strongest world among the 9 worlds, was massacred by 7 worlds. Someone was deliberately spinning the roulette, wanting to destroy the Great Wasteland domain. The memories of the Lord of Desolation were completely compatible with Yi Qinghan. The two of them had merged into one and couldn't be separated. The power of desolation in the sky surged and drilled into Yi Qinghan's body. The Great Wasteland Monument was doing its best to suppress it. It was restraining it and didn't trigger any more heaven and earth anomalies. Back then, was it me who made the primal chaos world's supreme gods kill each other and nurture a realm lord? So it was me who pushed everything. Yi Qinghan fell into madness. He seemed to hate himself. However, he had no choice but to do this. The primal chaos world didn't have a realm lord. It seemed a little weak for him to protect the 2 worlds alone. Yi Qinghan walked faster and faster. His memories also flipped faster and faster. A large number of horrifying scenes appeared in his mind. The bloody situation changed drastically. He saw the people of the Great Wasteland domain being massacred. He couldn't walk anymore and knelt on the ground. He hugged his head with his hands and screamed in anger. The memories of the realm lords were all flipped over. Even his soul spirit couldn't control it. Long Shursher, who was following behind Yi Qinghan, looked at the lonely back view. Tears flowed out of her eyes for no reason. Chapter 1182. Yi Qinghan bent down deeply, kneeling on the ground and pulling at his hair. He wanted to pull those memories out of his sea of consciousness. Clouds of desolation had already appeared on the ground, rolling in from afar as if the end of the world had arrived. Buzz, buzz. The mark on Yi Qinghan's forehead constantly emitted waves of light. The great wasteland monument was suppressing the power of the desolation god in his body. The desolation divine light flowed on the surface of his body, transforming his body. The great desolation Tao scripture had completely appeared in his sea of consciousness. At this moment, the great desolation Tao scripture was no longer difficult to understand. As long as he had the power of the desolation god, he could use it effortlessly. The great desolation Tao physique began to slowly form under the operation of the power of desolation. Yi Qinghan was not in the mood to care. He just silently recalled the memories in his sea of consciousness. It was impossible to say how many living beings had survived for half a year under the siege of the Seven Realms. Unfortunately, the primal chaos realm still hadn't produced a new realm lord. In the end, Wilds's forces were exhausted, and he used his last bit of life force to activate a forbidden art from the Great Desolation Taoist scripture, severely injuring the Seven Realm Lords. Then, he sent away a loyal guard general to the primal chaos realm, where he set up a restrictive spell that prevented anyone with a cultivation base above the paramount god level from entering. After many years, the realm lords recovered most of their strength. If they wanted to open a passage between realms, they would need a lot of time and energy. A small place like the Chaos Realm was not worth their time and energy. Furthermore, the overgods could not open the entrance. Unless it was a coincidence, those above the overgod level could not enter the Chaos Realm. Only those below the overgod level could enter and the Chaos Realm survive. After understanding everything, Yi Qinghan touched the blood-colored soil on the ground. This was the blood-colored soil that was formed by the blood of the people of the great desolation world. Is it because I'm affecting your rule? Was it because I could reverse fate? Was it because you tacitly agreed and even hinted to the other realm lords to besiege me, even at the cost of destroying a realm to destroy me? Yi Qinghan's voice was completely hoarse. He could not even speak clearly. He looked up at the sky, the sorrow and desolation in his eyes indescribable. Those who defy the heavens will perish, those who obey the heavens will grieve. I didn't believe it back then, and I still don't believe it in this life. Since I was able to break free from the reincarnation of hell, I will seek justice for the countless living beings in the great wasteland domain. Yi Qinghan punched the bloody ground. His eyes flashed with a red glow, cruel and ruthless. The corners of his mouth twitched in an extremely terrifying manner. Long Shirshir was stunned as she stared at Yi Qinghan's back. Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't know why. Perhaps it was because the desolation in his back made her feel pain, or perhaps it was because, suddenly desolation clouds filled the air and swept over from afar, directly rushing into Yi Qinghan's body. His powerful body almost collapsed and returned to desolation. The pain caused him to involuntarily groan and scream. The divine charm on the surface of his body had completely disappeared. He was like an old withered tree bark or a dried-up river channel, without any signs of life. The great desolate Tao physique was unintentionally formed. The power of desolates flowed through his limbs and bones. The vast divine power of desolation swarmed in from all directions and gathered in his body. Yi Qinghan didn't even have the slightest bit of consciousness. The great wasteland tablet had done everything he could. After going through untold hardships to condense the 9-revolution primal chaos Tao physique, he still didn't succeed in the end. However, the great desolate Tao physique actually succeeded in advance. This was perhaps something that Yi Qinghan had never dreamed of. Long Shirshir's eyes widened as if she had seen something unbelievable. Countless images flashed through her mind, but she couldn't capture a single image. So familiar. So familiar. Long Shershur muttered to herself, as if she was recalling something, but she couldn't pinpoint it. The dense cold air covered the sky, and no one was willing to come close. The baleful aura here was enough to affect the mind of a half-step paramount god. Only Yi Qinghan was free of any baleful aura within 100 meters of him. It was as if the baleful aura was respectfully staying away, but was unwilling to leave and could only drift around nearby. Long Shershur looked at the baleful aura behind her, which was like a sharp knife stabbing into her back. She couldn't help but shiver, and hurriedly moved closer to Yi Qinghan. An inexplicable pressure spread outward, and the wild beasts in the great wasteland seemed to have gone mad. They became violent and left their nests. The birds in the depths of the great wasteland blotted out the sky and the sun as they pressed toward the outer perimeter. Roar! A furious roar shook the clouds, and the mighty power of the desolation god pressed down on the 7 peak paramount gods protecting the young experts. The 7 experts frowned and became somewhat vigilant. This time there was more than one wild beast of the great wasteland, and there were at least a dozen of them, and all of them were paramount gods. Then, the wild beasts of the great wasteland rushed over, as if warning these experts that this was their territory. What's going on? These wild beasts have never joined forces before. They're like a sheet of loose sand. Why are they joining forces now? The peak paramount gods of the Snow Empire and the Celestial World began to slowly retreat. All experts of the Snow Empire and the Celestial World, retreat. Do not move forward. The voice of the sagely old man turned into a thunderclap that reverberated in the depths of the great wasteland. Then, the other 6 paramount gods issued the order to retreat. The great wasteland was like a loose sand that couldn't withstand a single blow. Any random large world could advance step by step like boiling a frog in warm water, and even destroy the great wasteland. But once they gathered and knew how to join forces, no one could shake the great wasteland, unless the Realm Lord himself came. This was the power of unity. Boom, boom, boom. The great wasteland was covered in blood and dust. Rumbling sounds came from the depths of the great wasteland, like 10,000 horses galloping. This was a true beast tide. Mountains and rivers stretched as far as the eye could see, filled with living creatures. Birds and beasts, beasts of all ages, could tear gods apart and trample mountains and rivers. The beasts sensed the return of the great wasteland's war lord. They worshipped the war lord and were willing to fight for him, even if it meant death. This was the territory of the great wasteland. Apart from the living creatures of the great wasteland, no one could trample on it. Yi Qinghan's will inadvertently affected the living creatures of the great wasteland, causing the first beast tide in countless epochs. Roar, roar, boom, boom. 10,000 beasts gallop. The war lord had returned and the world was at peace. Yi Qinghan's withered flesh became round again. His fingers pierced through the blood-stained rocks, and his tightly shut eyes suddenly opened. They were bloodshot, as if they weren't human eyes. His veins wriggled as if there were worms swimming on his skin. His vigorous face didn't change much, but it seemed to have experienced the vicissitudes of life, as if he had experienced the joys and sorrows of countless epochs. Of the 9 reincarnations, this was the life with the strongest cultivation. In fact, all 8 of them had fallen at the giant god realm. Although this time was weak, it didn't mean that there was no chance of a comeback. Sha Yi Qinghan stood up. His body seemed to contain the power of the entire great wasteland, and he could mobilize the great wasteland to fight. A punch could break through the barriers of the 9 worlds, penetrate the body of a paramount god, and a stomp could shake mountains and rivers. His eyes contained a supreme will that didn't allow anyone to disobey. My apologies, my grandmother passed away yesterday. In order to update, I only went to read it once. I really didn't want to talk about my family's matters, but it caused many readers to curse and be confused. Tomorrow, I will stay at the funeral for a day. I hope everyone can understand. There are only 3 chapters. Chapter 1183. Long Shirshir was frightened by Yi Qinghan's gaze and took a few steps back. She was somewhat flustered. This gaze was even more terrifying than the gaze of the city lord of Cloud City, Yun Zhongjuan. It was even more imposing and oppressive, making people not dare to look straight at it. What did you see? Yi Qinghan's hoarse voice did not have the slightest emotion as he asked coldly. Long Shirshir was frightened. She did not expect the cultured and refined man from before to become so violent and cold. She hurriedly explained, I was just passing by. What? I didn't see anything. I only saw you on the ground and wanted to help you up. Leave. Remember, trouble comes from the mouth. Don't make me want to kill you, Yi Qinghan coldly warned. Afterward, Yi Qinghan waved his hand and the clouds dispersed. The baleful aura and gloomy aura became gentle. With a light stomp of his foot, a will was transmitted from the barren land to the depths. Everything roared, and waves of energy surged. Long Shirshir was frightened by Yi Qinghan. Without saying a word, she turned around and ran back. In the distance, all the experts were fleeing towards the exit of the great wasteland domain. The vicious beasts in the depths were still slowly attacking, pressuring everyone to the point that they did not dare to take even half a step forward. This was the great wasteland domain. No one was allowed to behave atrociously here. Yi Qinghan's cold light pierced through thousands of miles. He stared at the hundreds of thousands of experts who were rushing over and retreating in defeat. A cold smile appeared on his face as he turned around and walked towards the depths. The creatures in the great wasteland domain immediately submitted when they saw him. That faint aura of a war lord forced them to submit. They did not even have the will to resist. Yi Qinghan came to a mountain and looked towards the depth. The city where the Desolation Lord was overseen was very far away. With his current strength, he might not be able to reach there even if he flew for 1,000 years. Now that the domain gates in the Great Wasteland domain had been destroyed, he could only build new ones. However, it was impossible for him to build such a long-distance teleportation domain gate with his current strength. Moreover, after he teleported away, he had to immediately destroy the domain gate here. He could not allow others to chase after him or leave any traces behind. Yi Qinghan pondered for a moment, but he didn't go deeper. Instead, he sped back and prepared to take Emoli with him. After all, he needed the support of the primal chaos realm. Otherwise, how could he fight against the 7 realms by himself? As Yi Qinghan walked, he adjusted his breathing and suppressed his aura. The shocking blood vessels in his eyes gradually dissipated. The pressure of the Lord of Desolation also dissipated, making him seem like an ordinary young boy. At the exit, the 7 paramount gods had gathered all of their experts and were preparing to leave. However, the desolate beasts didn't come any closer. For a moment, they didn't know whether they should continue or retreat. Yi Qinghan blended into the crowd and found Yunqi's group. Long Shirshir only lowered her head to sneak a glance at Yi Qinghan before looking away. Emoli and Yunqi looked at Yi Qinghan and their expressions changed slightly. Are you done? Emoli asked in a low voice. Yes. Yi Qinghan nodded. I say, Brother Yi, if you have something to do and want to leave, you should at least discuss it with me. Otherwise, I'll lose my confidence and be humiliated by those 2 bastards, Yunqi said unhappily. Yi Qinghan smiled and didn't reply. Instead, he looked for an opportunity to leave. Everyone, calm down. We'll wait for 2 hours. If these desolate beasts disperse, we'll continue to train. If they don't, we'll leave. No one is allowed to stay in the Great Desolation Realm, the sage-like old man said in a deep voice. What's going on? I've never seen so many desolate beasts gathered together before. Furthermore, they're working together to deal with us, Yun Zhang asked with a frown. It is indeed strange. I've been here no less than 10 times. This place is like a plate of loose sand, ready to be slaughtered. Now they're actually working together. Defeizuan was also very puzzled. He didn't understand what was going on. Emoli glanced at Yi Qinghan. He guessed that the phenomenon here was related to him. Yi Qinghan pretended to be curious as he looked at Yunqi and asked, "What's going on?" "I don't know either. There seems to be a problem inside the Great Desolation Realm. In the past, the desolate beasts wouldn't work together. Instead, they would kill each other. This time, they're actually working together to resist. The elites of our 7 realms aren't enough to resist. It seems like the Realm Master will come out to patrol," Yunqi replied in a low voice. Yi Qinghan was startled. He could hide it from the supreme gods, but he definitely couldn't hide it from the Realm Master. Right now, a lack of forbearance would spoil great plans. Before he had enough strength, he could only endure. Therefore, Yi Qinghan tapped the air with the tip of his foot and used the Great Desolation Realm to order the desolate beasts to retreat. The Great Desolation Realm was now one with Yi Qinghan. Although he couldn't use the Great Desolation Realm to fight, he could still use the most basic method of transmitting information. The desolate beasts received the order and quickly retreated. They came quickly and left quickly. Boom, boom, boom. The earth trembled slightly as the desolate beasts left. This caused everyone to be rather surprised. The desolate beasts in the Great Desolation Realm this year were too strange. After a long time, the desolate beasts completely left. There were only ordinary wild beasts and low-level desolate beasts left in the periphery. They didn't affect the experts of the 7 realms in the slightest. Everyone move freely. However, don't go too deep. The supreme gods of each realm were still very vigilant as they reminded everyone in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan looked at the 100,000 experts of the 7 realms. A cold glint flashed through his eyes. He was filled with hatred. "Since you dared to come in, I dare to leave half of you behind." Yi Qinghan clenched his fist. He gave Emoli a look and then followed the others to disperse. Under the gaze of the supreme gods, the experts of each realm began to disperse. They formed small groups of 7 or 8 people and began to wander into the depths of the Great Desolation Realm in search of prey and rare treasures. Large amounts of desolate god herbs could be found everywhere. However, this group of people turned a blind eye to them because they didn't dare to cultivate the power of desolation. Otherwise, their entire family would be exterminated. Yi Qinghan would always take away the treasure-level desolate god herbs when no one was paying attention. He and Emoli slowly followed behind Yunqi and the others. "What are we going to do now? I heard that the Great Desolation Realm is even bigger than the Snow Empire's divine world. Where are we going to find the entrance to the Primal Chaos Realm?" Emoli asked with a frown. Yi Qinghan sneered and said in a hoarse voice, "What else can we prepare for? Let's just wait and watch the show. When these people enter the depths of the Great Desolation Realm and fight for themselves, it will be time for blood." "You're going to attack? Can you kill your way over?" Emoli asked doubtfully. "There's no need for me to do it myself. This is the Great Desolation Realm, my territory. I can control all living things within 1,000,000 kilometers," Yi Qinghan said indifferently. A strange glint flashed through Emoli's eyes. He didn't say anything and just followed silently. 100,000 people entering the Great Desolation Realm was like a grain of sand entering the ocean. They couldn't cause any waves. Yi Qinghan was waiting for them to get closer. His people were scattered and at this moment, he was secretly mobilizing the desolate beasts in the depths of the Great Desolation Realm to hide ahead. With Yi Qinghan's control, the desolate beasts that didn't have any intelligence became wise, treacherous, and knew how to set up ambushes and cooperate. They quietly waited for food to enter their mouth. Yunqi was still leading the group deeper into the Great Desolation Realm, preparing to kill desolate beasts and train. He was completely unaware of the danger. At this moment, Yi Qinghan was considering whether or not he should kill the people from the city amongst the clouds. Only by killing them would the others know nothing about him. Chapter 1184. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed coldly, and his killing intent was set. No one was innocent in the enmity of destroying a world. As long as the other party could threaten his life, he had to pull it out. Emoli felt the killing intent and knew that these people in front of him were dead meat. Yi Qinghan was never one to drag things out. Once he had made a decision, he would not change it. He began to lead Yun Qi deeper into the canyon. Yun Zhang and Yun Dong seemed to want to suppress this despicable younger brother of theirs, so they led their own teams and followed from afar. Yi Qinghan stomped on the ground, and the powerful creatures began to gather in one direction. 10,000 miles away, in a huge canyon, several powerful dire beasts were walking around. They were of the same bloodline, and they looked a little like iron beasts. Their bodies were like steel, and the material was terrifying. Every part of their bodies could kill. A large number of creatures gathered here, but they were about a few thousand miles away from the canyon. They could attack or retreat. A huge gap appeared, and Yi Qinghan led Yun Qi and the others into the canyon. After an incense stick's worth of time, Yun Zhang and Yun Dong each led their own experts into the canyon. However, less than 30 miles into the canyon, the gap was blocked by more than 10 half-step Supreme God dire beasts. The surrounding dire beasts were also slowly gathering. Roar, roar, whoosh, whoosh. Not good. We've been surrounded. Yun Qi and the others were shocked. They wanted to call for help, but they were directly knocked down from the sky by the birds and fire-type dire beasts. Di Feizuan, Long Zheng, and Tiger were shocked. They looked back and saw that more than 10 half-step Supreme God dire beasts had completely blocked their path. There was no way to escape. There was no road to heaven and no door to hell. Roar. A low roar caused everyone's hair to stand on end. The strongest among them, Di Feizuan, Yun Zhang, Long Zheng, and Tiger, had a trace of fear and despair in their eyes. Supreme God dire beasts. Yi Qinghan and Emoli slowly retreated and stood along the cliff. With a light snap of their fingers, tens of thousands of dire beasts pounced, filling the canyon and swallowing several experts alive. Boom, boom, hum hum hum. The frost spiritual essence rushed into the canyon, freezing everything within 100 miles. The combined strength of the experts was not weak. Many weak, desolate beasts were directly frozen to death. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan waved his hand, causing flames to spread out, directly pushing back the ice in the canyon, alarming Yun Zhang and the others. Yi Qinghan, what are you doing? Yun Zhang asked angrily. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan attacked again. A saber light tore through the canyon and swept past Yun Zhang's head, killing a few experts around him. Boom! It violently slammed into the divine weapon in Yun Zhang's hand. The shock wave spread out for thousands of miles, sending sand and pebbles flying. Murder! Can't you tell? Yi Qinghan's eyes turned bloodshot as he smirked. With a wave of his hand, a supreme desolate beast attacked. A seemingly young panther creature moved as fast as lightning, its sharp claws piercing through Yun Dong's body as it bit off his head, devouring all of his vitality. Many people began to scream. Hundreds of desolate beasts of the same level attacking a single person could be killed in the blink of an eye. No one could break through the defenses of the flying beast. Even if the canyon was turned upside down, the supreme gods outside would not be able to notice the fierce battle here. Yi Qinghan brandished his saber and killed 2 people. Then, he turned around and slashed his saber at Long Shirshi's head, causing her hair to flutter. She was so shocked that she did not resist and could only watch helplessly as the saber slashed down. She was almost frightened to the point of kneeling on the ground. Yi Qinghan, you dare! Long Zhenhu was enraged. He punched a powerful desolate beast, but before he could reach Yi Qinghan, his palm was shattered by the supreme desolate beast's claw. His body flew backwards and crashed into the wall, almost fainting. However, Yi Qinghan did not slash down. His left hand turned into a claw, grabbed Long Shirshir, and threw her onto a tiger. The tiger did not dare to attack crazily. It even felt excited, as if being used by Yi Qinghan was something to be proud of. Yunqi was forced to retreat step by step. He shouted at Yi Qinghan, "Brother Yi, save me! We are brothers." "Sorry, you are not." Yi Qinghan shook his head and said coldly. Yunqi cursed angrily. He wanted nothing more than to tear Yi Qinghan to shreds, devour his flesh, and gnaw on his bones. However, before he could even struggle, he was torn apart by the supreme desolate beast. Dongfang Haojuan, Dongfang Ling, and the others were in despair. Unfortunately, Yi Qinghan's eyes did not have the slightest bit of emotion. Long Zhenhu was shocked to see that Yi Qinghan had not killed Long Shirshir and had instead placed her on top of the tiger. Seeing the fierce beast closing in on them, they had no room to resist and could only crawl backward. Emoli raised his demon god spear and was about to kill Long Zhenhu, but Long Shirshir, who was close to her brother, quickly cried out, "Mr. Yi, please spare my brother. If you have any requests, please tell me. Seal his spiritual space and take him away." Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Emoli did not object and directly sealed Long Zhenhu's spiritual space, turning him into a cripple. Although Yun Zhang and Di Feizuan were strong, they were not supreme gods. Under the claws of the supreme desolate beast, they were powerless and were quickly swallowed alive. The desolate beast quickly scattered with blood and bones on the ground. That supreme desolate beast was like an obedient kitten in front of Yi Qinghan. It rubbed against his feet as if it was trying to flatter him. "You are the reincarnation of the great desolate domain's realm master?" Emoli frowned and asked doubtfully. Yi Qinghan rubbed his head and nodded. Raising his saber, he stepped onto the desolate tiger's body. That supreme desolate beast ran to Yi Qinghan's side like an arrow. It was incomparably docile, scaring Long Shirshir so much that her beautiful face turned pale. Emoli looked at Long Shirshir and Long Zhenhu and asked, "What's wrong? Yi Jie has taken the initiative to accept another beauty?" "Not interested. It's only because of Bai Shaosheng." Yi Qinghan indeed did not have any feelings for Long Shirshir. It was purely because he loved her and her dog. In his eyes, Bai Shaosheng had already risen to the level of Emperor Yi. Perhaps it was because he owed her, but he truly loved that dead woman. When Bai Shaosheng was mentioned, Emoli went silent. Although Bai Shaosheng's death was not directly related to the demonic god mountain, it was indirectly related. It was truly a pity that that woman died. "All right, it is indeed a little similar." Emoli nodded. He carried Long Zhenhu and jumped onto the desolate tiger and dispersed with the large group of beasts. Long Zhenhu and Long Zhenhu's eyes were filled with fear. They did not expect that Yi Qinghan was actually the reincarnation of the desolate domain's realm master. That legendary existence actually showed mercy to Long Shirshir and saved their lives because of her. Yi Qinghan indifferently glanced at the siblings on the way and coldly said, "Don't try to play tricks. My patience with you is limited. If you dare to do anything out of line, I will kill you without mercy." At this moment, more than 10 battlefields in the periphery of the great desolate domain began simultaneously. A large number of desolate beasts and flying beasts joined hands and killed whoever blocked their way. At the same time, Yi Qinghan said to the supreme desolate beast, "Pass down my order. Find the entrance to the primal chaos realm. Once you find it, immediately send the heavenly beast to bring me." Chapter 1185. The leopard desolate beast quickly left Yi Qinghan and carried out the order without any hesitation. The great wasteland domain was filled with countless desolate beasts being mobilized in groups of 3 to 5,000. Each group was followed by a desolate beast and could wipe out a group in an instant. Blood dyed the mountains and rivers, adding to the baleful aura. The desolate beast's roar was heard. The huge desolate beast stood tall and could wipe out a mountain with a stretch of its hand. The power of desolation surged out from the ground. The great wasteland domain, which had not given birth to a desolate lord for countless years, became even more vigorous and profound. It was now able to withstand the emergence of 2 realm lords. Yi Qinghan held violent hammer and stood proudly on the back of the desolate tiger. He was not worried about the desolate beasts galloping past. These desolate beasts were his people, and he was their father god. Even if his body changed and he reincarnated 9 times, his soul was still the desolate warlord. No matter how long the desolate beasts had been around, their souls would still recognize this person as their father god. Emily might not understand the concept of desolate warlord because there had never been a realm lord in the primal chaos domain. The supreme gods were the peak existences. However, Long Jinghu and Long Shirshir understood that a realm lord was a realm lord. Their strength far surpassed the supreme gods, and the desolate war lord was the war god among realm lords. Long Jinghu did not have any thoughts of resistance or disloyalty. This great wasteland domain belonged to Yi Qinghan. As long as his strength increased, as long as he wanted, he could integrate the great wasteland domain into his imprint and mobilize the power of the great wasteland domain to kill all enemies. In terms of individual combat strength, no one could compete with him. Weren't you? Long Shirshir's voice trembled. She wanted to ask a few questions, but looking at Yi Qinghan's back, she did not have the courage to ask. Yi Qinghan did not turn his head and did not answer, although he knew what Long Shirshir wanted to ask. Looking at the desolate cloud above his head, the bloody scenes of the past were tearing his soul apart. Countless desolate beasts and desolate beasts worked together. They were not as scattered as they were now. Back then, they had a common belief, and that was the war lord of the great wasteland. All desolate beasts fought against the enemies together. Even blood on the battlefield, they did not regret it. None of them turned their heads. Those were his people. Trillions of them. In the entire realm, apart from the guard he sent away, not a single person survived. All of them died in battle. How heroic was that? Yi Qinghan's eyes narrowed into slits. At this point, he no longer needed to tell himself that this matter had nothing to do with him. Only after fusing with the memories did he understand that he was the Grand Desolate Battlemaster, and the Grand Desolate Battlemaster was him. The battle back then seemed like it had happened yesterday. Even as he looked at the memories, the huge hand could not help but want to stop him. Hum hum hum, Yi Qinghan's roar reverberated in the air. The suppressed aura within Yi Qinghan's body shot out in all directions. Even Emily felt a sense of suffocation. Yi Qinghan's current aura was simply too powerful. The warlord's aura had returned, and even though he was no longer as strong as before, his soul had inherited everything from the past. A single glance from him was enough to cause an over-god to tremble in fear, not daring to look directly at him. The dead are gone. No matter how angry we are now, we can't go back to the past. Right now, we should think of a way to increase our strength so that we can protect ourselves. Now that you have appeared, the 7 realms will definitely react violently. Once they take action, the primal chaos realm will definitely be affected. What we need to do now is to increase our cultivation and become a realm lord before the 7 realms lord is restored. Emily reminded in a muffled voice. How difficult was it to become a realm lord? After 1 trillion years, there were only 8 realm lords in the 9 realms. Since the great desolate realm's realm lord had fallen, there was still no one who could become a realm lord. In a situation where resources were so abundant, countless ferocious beasts stopped at the peak paramount god level. This was not a limitation of talent or resources, but a limitation of oneself. No one understood this principle better than Yi Qinghan. Now, even if he wanted to become a realm lord, it would be extremely difficult, let alone nurturing someone who could fight side by side with him. Yi Qinghan nodded and secretly pondered. There were not many people who could be nurtured now, but there were also quite a few. On the surface, there were at least 20 people who were worth nurturing, and there were more than 10 hidden experts who had yet to come out. They were all trustworthy people. With the resources of the Eternal Cloud Sky Great World and the Great Desolate Realm, he had a 70 to 80% chance of nurturing them to the paramount god level. However, the chances of nurturing them to the Realm Lord level were slim. Lord Yi, this matter has nothing to do with us. Can you let us go? Long Jinghu asked respectfully. Yi Qinghan turned around and looked at Long Jinghu. The terrifying will in his eyes made it hard for him to breathe. His handsome face did not change, but his will and majesty had completely changed. It was as if he was a different person. Let you go? If it wasn't for the fact that Long Shirshir looked like an old friend of mine, the two of you would have already returned to the earth. Yi Qinghan's hoarse voice was emotionless as he replied coldly. Brother, we can submit. This time, so many people from the great desolate realm died. Father and the others will definitely not tell others that we are still alive. It's equivalent to us not existing anymore. It's not impossible for us to live with a different identity. Long Shirshir was the least frightened and could still think. However, Long Jinghu was different. His willpower had been crushed. His original wisdom had long since turned into muddle-headedness. If it's up to me, I'll just kill them and end this matter once and for all, Emoli said firmly. Yi Qinghan stared coldly at the siblings. His eyes flashed with killing intent. Long Shirshir and Long Jinghu were so frightened that they did not dare to speak. Their life and death were in Yi Qinghan's hands. After a long time, Yi Qinghan finally loosened his fist and said indifferently, "No need. 2 insignificant people can't cause any big wave." Huff, 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 Long Shirshir and Long Jinghu gasped for breath. Their hearts were about to shatter. The feeling of walking on the edge of death was too exhilarating. Emoli shook his head. Bai Xiaoxing's position in Yi Qinghan's heart was not inferior to Emperor Yi. Even if he died, it would be a glorious death. Just at this moment, an aurora pulled along the flames. The earth shook. The speed seemed to come from the upper realm and did not belong to the mortal realm. Whoosh, a white desolate beast appeared in front of Yi Qinghan. It looked a bit like a tiger or wolf, but it was obviously not one. It had a pair of black wings on its back and a heaven character on its forehead. It looked very majestic. "Welcome back, my lord." The desolate beast prostrated on the ground and spoke in human language. It was extremely respectful and did not dare to blaspheme. The heaven-taming beast, as its name implied, could control all the Daos in the heavens. Yi Qinghan's mouth curved into a smile. He jumped down from the back of the desolate tiger and stroked its pure white feathers. He missed the mount of the past. The powerful heaven-taming beast was not inferior to a realm lord. Its ancestor had once helped him resist the enemies and persevered until the end. "Get up. Your strength is not bad. You did not lose face for your ancestor. Now, bring me to the Great Desolation Palace," Yi Qinghan said gently. "You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.